Douluo, my Sharingan isn't very proper. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction. So please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter. And if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 51: Feeding the Grass with One's Own Body. Unable to refuse their hospitality, Yichu sat down. He had to admit their cooking was excellent. Even without pants, he didn't feel any discomfort. Sitting opposite the Blue-Silver King, Yichu noticed that the pale golden blue-silver grass in front of him had become noticeably thinner. Ahem. You've lost weight, he pointed at it, then gestured with his hands. Just a side effect of forcibly using the highest form of the Blue-Silver domain. For my emperor, it's all worth it. The Blue-Silver King's voice was weak, but still full of respect. I see Yichu understood. Forcibly using a domain was indeed dangerous, but fortunately, the Blue-Silver grass was resilient. My emperor. Don't worry about your second spirit ring, I've already prepared it for you. Really? That's wonderful. Yichu knew exactly where the spirit ring came from. In the original story, Tang San's fifth spirit skill, the Blue-Silver Overlord Spear, was obtained in the Blue-Silver Forest. A spirit ring whose age could be increased based on strength, physical attributes. Thank you so much, you're welcome. It's what we, as your subjects, should do. By the way, how did I become your queen? Originally, I planned for my queen to devour you directly, but unexpectedly, she wanted to offer herself and her bloodline to you. After a friendly exchange with a Blue-Silver King, Yichu finally understood the current situation. It turned out that he had become the essence of the Blue-Silver Queen. The Blue-Silver Queen was rooted in his heart, and the two were deeply bound together, becoming one. She relied on the soul power provided by Yichu to restore her past cultivation, and Yichu could share everything about her, including the Blue-Silver Queen's bloodline and Blue-Silver domain. In short, Yichu had made a huge profit. The Blue-Silver Queen was like a martial soul with a physical body and even consciousness. Yichu could use her soul skills, and she could even appear directly and act independently. This reminded Yichu of Yu Zhiagang's Luo Sanpao martial soul. However, there was a difference. The Blue-Silver Queen was like a soul beast in human form, able to generate her own soul rings. Furthermore, the damage she suffers won't be transferred to Yichu. If she dies outside, she can be resurrected within Yichu's body, unless she encounters a powerful mental attack that directly annihilates her soul. If Yichu dies, she dies. If she dies, Yichu is basically unharmed. I don't know what kind of bewitching potion you gave her, something that should have been a life and death bond. The Blue-Silver King's voice was somewhat helpless. This. I don't know either. Yichu scratched his head. He couldn't very well say that his eyes were a bit lewd and he had seduced her, could he? Your soul power is under your own control, but I still hope you can treat my queen well and help her recover to her peak as soon as possible. Don't worry about that. After all, her improvement will also increase my own strength. Yichu nodded. They were all on his side, so Yichu wouldn't be stingy. By the way, will she regain her memories? Yichu is quite concerned about this. Restore memories? Why do you say that? She's a completely new emperor. In the competition between their consciousnesses, the previous one has been completely turned into nourishment. After hearing the Blue-Silver King's words, Yichu finally felt relieved. This was a completely new Blue-Silver Emperor belonging to him alone, a unique martial soul. Yichu could use it with peace of mind. Thank you. Well, if there's nothing else, then you should rest well. Tomorrow, I'll add a second soul ring to you. Just as the Blue-Silver King was about to return to the underground, Yichu called out to it awkwardly, do you have any human clothes here? No. Whoosh. The Blue-Silver King disappeared before his eyes. Yichu looked left and right, then quickly covered his chest, feeling like he was surrounded by eyes. He took out some clothes from his divine might space, tore them up, and then hastily wrapped them around his body. He couldn't stay naked forever. That night, the sky was filled with stars, a dazzling display of light. On the ground, the Blue-Silver grass emitted light, its brilliance reflecting the light. Yichu was sitting cross-legged in a chair, cultivating diligently. He could clearly feel that during his cultivation, A portion of his soul power would first flow through his right leg bone and then be absorbed by the blue-silver emperor. He could control the flow of that soul power at will. After a long while, Yichu stopped cultivating, lay down on the ground, and looked at the starry sky. The stars seemed to be arranged in the shape of a rabbit, with a cat faintly visible. Brother interrupted his reverie. A tightness in his chest, a delicately beautiful little girl had snuggled up to him, and as soon as she ran out, she gave Yichu a quick kiss on the cheek. She laughed sweetly, watching Yichu wipe away his drool. Brother has become so much more handsome, she pinched Yichu's soft cheeks, unable to tear herself away. It's all thanks to you. Yichu placed his hands under her armpits and lifted her up. I'm glad brother won't blame me. Brother's level has dropped so much, she pouted, looking strangely adorable. It's nothing, after all, I have such a cute little sister now, don't I? Yichu looked at the little girl and felt that having such a cute little sister was quite nice, all benefits and no harm. Yichu sat up and put her down to stand. Do you have a name? I can't keep calling you Blue Silver Emperor, can I? I don't have a name yet. As soon as Yichu let go, she couldn't wait to burrow into his arms. Brother, help me choose one. Yichu stroked his chin and pondered for a while. He wasn't very good at naming things, but with Ayin's excellent example, he thought the name Little Blue was quite good. How about we call you Little Blue from now on? Okay, I'll be called Little Blue from now on. Little Blue happily cupped Yichu's head and nuzzled him. Then it's decided. Yichu rubbed her head. The two of them standing together, at first glance, really did look like a brother and sister, with the same blue hair and blue eyes, and fair skin, but they looked quite a bit different in age. Little Blue's current height only reached above Yichu's knees. Pulling at Yichu's clothes, she blurted out innocently, brother's clothes are so ugly. You look better without clothes. Several black lines appeared on Yichu's forehead, his face flushed with embarrassment, easily noticeable after his skin turned pale. Xiaolan placed her small hand on Yichu's forehead, a warm, gentle force calming his slightly agitated mind. Looks like I can use her to keep calm from now on, Yichu thought to himself. However, Xiaolan's next words made him even more embarrassed. Brother, don't be shy. I wiped all the blood off you, you're such a good little sister, of course. Xiaolan loves brother the most, Yichu chuckled awkwardly. Brother, do you still want to cultivate? You can try using the blue-silver domain to speed things up. There are so many blue-silver grass here, they'll all help you, yawned Xiaolan, hanging around Yichu's neck, yawned, then transformed into specks of light and disappeared into Yichu's arms. This endurance is so poor, Yichu hadn't expected Xiaolan to return so quickly, leaving him with nothing to do again. Fortunately, he continued cultivating as Xiaolan had instructed. Yichu sat cross-legged, his blue-silver domain unfolding, invisible ripples spreading outwards from him. The first stage of the blue-silver domain possessed the ability of disguise. Through changes in the blue-silver domain, spirit rings could be disguised, their colors changed at will, and they could even be visually invisible to opponents. This skill might be useless to others, but Yichu is quite satisfied, it suited him perfectly, given how dazzling his spirit rings were. Calming his mind, Yichu entered a cultivation state, and the feeling was indeed different. The blue-silver grass within the domain seemed to have established a mental network, constantly accelerating the flow of spirit power within his body, guided by him. Perhaps due to the abundance of blue-silver grass here, the blue-silver domain's effect was excellent, increasing his cultivation speed by more than 2.5 times. Chapter 52 Life continues. The sun was just rising. Having just absorbed the purple aura from the horizon, Yichu, having finished his cultivation, lay down on the ground. The soft blue-silver grass beneath him was even more comfortable than a soft bed. He stood up and stretched. With the aid of the blue-silver domain, cultivation was indeed twice as effective. He casually took a few steps, looking at the height of the ground above him. Yichu was still quite unaccustomed to it. At just over 9 years old, he was already 1.7 meters tall, his face still bearing a hint of childishness. My emperor, would you like something to eat? Yichu is somewhat surprised by the appearance of the blue-silver king this time. A phantom humanoid figure floated there, its exact appearance unclear. In front of it was a small woven table, on which were some wild fruits and dew gathered from the blue-silver grass. Thank you. Yichu didn't stand on ceremony, sitting back on the throne and beginning to eat. As soon as he took a bite, a fragrant aroma wafted out, and his soul power seemed to increase slightly. "A Little Blue wants some too." A streak of light shot out, transforming into a little girl who immediately sprawled on the table, picking up wild berries and munching on them. "Aww, so delicious. Brother, you should eat too." The Blue Silver King floated over, gently stroking Little Blue's head, his gaze shifting to him. "Little Blue? Did you name him that?" "Yes," Yichu nodded. "He sounds alright. By the way, what's going on with your current state?" Yichu asked curiously. "My physical body needs to recover. This is kind of a mental projection. You can do that when you've almost completely mastered the Blue-Silver domain." I see Yichu hadn't expected the Blue-Silver domain to have such a wonderful use. Come to think of it, the final stage of the Blue-Silver domain, the all-encompassing domain, can convert the life force provided by the Blue-Silver grass into any kind of energy, such as soul power or spiritual power. It's not surprising that the Blue-Silver King, with over 80,000 years of cultivation, has reached this level. "Brother, eat quickly." Little Blue jumped into Yichu's arms, stuffing a few wild grapes into his mouth. Yichu sat cross-legged on the open ground, now about to begin the ring-enhancing technique. "Great Emperor, please accept the gifts of your people." With a Blue-Silver King's shout, countless people responded, and numerous blue-silver grasses contributed their strength. The blue ocean blossomed with brilliant colors, and immense power slowly surged into Yichu's body. He didn't even need to actively absorb it, it instantly filled his limbs and bones. With Yichu's physical strength after being transformed by 2,000-year spirit rings, and possessing a right leg bone and blue-silver bloodline, enduring the 1,000-year spirit rings was effortless. The Blue-Silver domain was released, absorbing the power they transmitted to a greater extent. Beneath him, the purple ring belonging to the serpent appeared, followed closely by a white spirit ring. White, yellow, gradually turning into purple. 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 5,000 years. Only when Yichu frowned did the Blue-Silver King stop. He exhaled a breath of stale air, his heart finally at ease. The second ring granted Yichu the spirit skills Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu. As for Susanoo, with a Blue-Silver Emperor's bloodline, he probably wouldn't need to be a 3-second man anymore. Well, at least it can extend the time by 1 minute. Whoosh! The Blue-Silver domain activated the spirit rings, and the 2 purple spirit rings gradually changed, eventually transforming into 200-year spirit rings. "Now, my spirit rings are finally presentable." Yichu smiled faintly, his handsome face radiating a gentle and noble aura. "Wow, brother is so amazing." Thump! Yichu opened his arms and embraced Xiaolan, wiping the juice from the corner of her mouth. Xiaolan let out a burp, rubbing her bulging little belly, her azure eyes watery, her face contorted in a sad expression. "I ate too much, oh haha." He hadn't expected the Blue-Silver King to be such a little glutton. "By the way, is it okay for Xiaolan to keep eating like this?" Yichu asked a Blue-Silver King. "Don't worry, she'll convert all that stuff into energy. When she reaches saturation, she can even feed it back to you." Hearing this, Yichu nodded slightly. It seemed Xiaolan's growth wasn't entirely due to absorbing his spirit power. Speaking of which, once we find the yin-yang well of ice and fire, we can give her some unfamiliar herbs. She shouldn't be afraid of poison anyway. The Blue-Silver King, floating in the air, became even more ethereal. "You're almost leaving, aren't you?" It knew very well that Yichu wouldn't stay here. "Yes, I plan to leave now." "Now, then go, and remember to protect yourselves." The Blue-Silver King was slightly surprised, raised its hand, and made a gesture of invitation. The blue-silver grasses received its will, and a wider road appeared in the dense blue-silver forest. "Goodbye." An invisible vortex appeared, and the jade-eyed cloud-winged tiger appeared before Yichu, carrying Little Blue on its back. "Goodbye, the blue-silver forest will always welcome you." The Blue-Silver King's voice remained ethereal. At Yichu's signal, the tiger ran wildly towards the exit, with the blue-silver grasses on both sides guarding them like sentinels. "Goodbye, Sister Lan Ying." Little Blue tugged at Yichu's neck, poked its head out, and waved to the Blue-Silver King. Yichu was a little surprised. He hadn't expected the Blue-Silver King's name to be so good. He really wasn't good at naming things. Reaching the end of the road, Yichu turned around and bowed to them. Their power was undeniable, given the gains he had made on this trip. After saying goodbye, Yichu left with Little Blue without looking back. The Blue-Silver King's figure slowly faded away, its warbling voice echoing through the blue-silver forest. "I hope my choice was right, Yichu. Don't disappoint me." The entrance to the blue-silver forest disappeared again, as if it had never existed. In the jungle, Yichu, carrying a beautifully sculpted little girl, sat on the jade-eyed cloud-winged tiger, heading towards the edge of the starred-out great forest. Although Yichu possessed an outstanding aura, he was scantily clad, making him look like a beggar who had kidnapped a little girl. Having no other choice, Yichu used his Sharingan's X-ray vision to search, but he didn't see anyone. They only found one Emi monkey's lair. Although these spirit beasts weren't very old, they were particularly fond of robbing and collecting all sorts of things from humans. Riding his tiger cub, Yichu stormed into their lair, rummaging around until he found some wearable clothes. After washing them, he put them on, finally evolving from being practically naked to being properly dressed. They were almost nearing a human town when Yichu stored his jade-eyed cloud-winged tiger in his divine might space, while Xiao went back to sleep. This time, her sleep was quite long, lasting a full 2 days. As Yichu was leaping through the forest, he suddenly heard a joyful voice. Brother! Brother! Xiaolan's first spirit ring is ready. Yichu stopped, feeling a spirit power surge, and Xiaolan slowly materialized before him. Before he could even see her clearly, she jumped into his arms like a swallow returning to its nest. He patted the little girl in his arms. You've changed so much. Xiaolan has grown quite a bit taller. It seemed that the increase in strength would accelerate her growth. Yichu realized this, put her down, and rubbed her head. Let me see what your first soul skill is. My first soul skill is called Endless Life. She spun around on the spot, and a yellow soul ring appeared beneath her feet. She spread her little hands out towards the ground below, and tiny green shoots sprouted from the ground, reviving the almost withered shrubs. A healing soul skill? I thought it would be entanglement. Yichu pinched his chin, unconsciously thinking of Tang San's first soul skill. Xiaolan rolled her eyes at him. What nonsense are you talking about, brother? Entanglement is child's play. Xiaolan can master it after a few tries. Why would I need a soul skill? Haha. That's right, Xiaolan is so smart. Yichu squatted down and flicked her nose. It seems that the only redeeming quality of Yu Xiaogang's first soul skill for Tang San is poison. He doesn't have much else to offer. His theories on spirit mimicry and the discovery that plant-type spirits can absorb non-plant-type spirit beasts are all nonsense. Weapon spirits can absorb anything, yet no one goes to weapon shops to find spirit rings. Are plant-type spirits any more superior? His eyes swept across the ground. This healing soul skill was quite powerful, converting soul power into life force. Unless someone was missing an arm or leg, healing was basically no problem. Moreover, Yichu noticed that while Xiaolan's appearance would draw some of his soul power, later when using the skill, it seemed she was self-sufficient. She was very happy to receive Yichu's praise. Xiaolan is very smart, and as long as Xiaolan is inside brother can use it too. What? Without warning, she smeared saliva on Yichu's face again. Chapter 53 Heavenly Dao Imperial City. Little Blue, you can't just disappear or reappear in public places. Otherwise, I won't let you out again, okay, brother? Little Blue will definitely be good. At the gate of Yongdao Imperial City, a young man in a blue outfit arrived with a little girl. The young man had striking features, his azure eyes revealing a touch of nobility. The girl was obedient and gentle, wearing a blue dress with gold thread patterns. Her equally azure eyes looked around curiously, as if curious about everything. Brother, why is your face so red? Are you feeling unwell? No, nothing. Yichu dodged the flirtatious glances directed at him again. The blue-silver emperor bloodline was indeed terrifying, its effects even more potent than plastic surgery. Yichu felt like he had transformed into a human weapon for attracting women. Remembering the predatory gaze of the older woman next to him when he left the store after buying clothes, Yichu felt a chill run down his spine. In some crowded areas, they might even be groped by some bold girls. Let's go, let's find a place to stay first. Taking her little hand, Yichu lowered his head slightly and walked towards the city. It took Yichu quite a while to get here with Xiaolan after leaving the starred-out great forest. During this time, his soul power broke through to level 22 again. Since Xiaolan condensed her first soul ring, she could stay outside for a long time. Strangely, Yichu's soul power did not seem to be consumed. He could only attribute this to her own photosynthesis and her bulging little belly after every meal. Yichu planned to rest here for a while, show her the human world, and then set off for Sunset Forest to find the ice and fire yin-yang eye. Wow, what beautiful houses, and they're so tall, so many people, led by Yichu. Xiaolan looked at the bustling city and was full of praise. Brother Xiaolan wants to eat that. Looking in the direction she was pointing, there was a small shop selling candied hawthorns. The rock sugar coating the hawthorns made the red color very eye-catching, and it was indeed very tempting for Xiaolan. You really are a little glutton. He tapped her head and led her over. Boss. 2, please. Can I not have them? No, I've already licked them. Okay, alright. Here's your change. Take care. Watching Xiaolan stuff both skewers into her mouth at the same time, Yichu regretted it a little. On his first day in the city, he had actually encountered an assassin. A gold coin could support a family of 3 for a month or 2, and these things cost a silver coin each. The prices in the big city were really high, and he didn't have much money left. It seemed that finding a place to stay would be a problem later. Noticing Yichu staring at her blankly, Xiaolan stopped what she was doing, thinking Yichu was also craving it. She handed him a candied hawthorn, HMPH. Brother's a big glutton. Yichu didn't stand on ceremony, taking it directly. Seeing the drool on it, he picked it off and put it back in her mouth. Ugh, brother, are you disgusted? She pouted, glaring. How could I? Brother's letting you have more. He took a bite of the candied hawthorn in his hand and was about to pull her towards the inn. They'd ask if they had enough money first. I want to walk by myself, then watch yourself. Yichu swallowed the candied hawthorn in his mouth. Following behind Xiaolan, Yichu looked around, wanting to see one of the most prosperous places in the world. Passing an alley, they saw a group of people lying haphazardly, disheveled and looking like beggars. Yichu paused. Looks like there are quite a few slums in the capital. Is this what they mean by the rich feast while the poor freeze to death? As Yichu stopped to watch, Xiaolan's cry of pain rang out from ahead. At the same time, an arrogant voice followed. You scoundrel! Where did this wild girl come from? I'll drive you lowly commoners out of the capital sooner or later. Oh. I didn't expect a commoner to dress so well. He reached out to touch Xiaolan's face. Since you've dirted my clothes, you'll have to pay me back with yourself. Haha, get away. My candied hawthorn, slap. Xiaolan slapped his hand away. What's going on? Yichu quickly pushed aside the women surrounding him and hurried forward. Xiaolan fell to the ground, her candied hawthorn trampled underfoot, tears welling in her eyes, a pitiful sight. You audacious commoner! How dare you lay a hand on me? A richly dressed young master was about to slap Xiaolan across the face. Slap. Yichu grabbed his wrist, his eyes flashing with anger. Brother, Xiaolan called softly, scrambling to her feet and standing behind him, her small hand grabbing the hem of Yichu's robe. The young master's entourage also approached Yichu. You bastard! Let go of our young master right now, boy, let go of me right now. Do you know who I am? Yichu looked at him coldly. Who am I? I am the eldest son of the Earl of Sadio, Sabuchu. My hand, it's going to break, it's going to break. After hearing his self-introduction, a mysterious jade color appeared in Yichu's hand. Can't spit it out? Aren't you afraid of suffocating, you bastard? Ouch, my hand. He hated it most when people used his name to make a fuss. It was a mark of nobility. How could a lowly commoner slander it? Boy, don't mess around, don't ruin yourself. The guard beside him already had a longsword in his hand, and 4 soul rings, yellow and purple, rose from his feet, looking at Yichu, ready for battle. The Earl's family, this is a bit troublesome. A flash of bloodlust crossed Yichu's eyes. Just as Yichu was about to use his Sharingan to control this spoiled brat, a pleasant voice rang out. Sabuchu, are you bullying someone again? The newcomer wore a pale yellow dress, had a good figure, and wore a thin veil over her face, obscuring her features. Her eyes were expressionless. What are you saying? Upon seeing the newcomer, Sabuchu seemed flustered, as if feeling ashamed, and dared not look at the woman. You've kicked a hornet's nest, haven't you? The woman in yellow's voice made him lower his head. Yichu watched quietly, not letting his guard down at all. Friend, can you release him now? I can guarantee your safety, Lingling. I can undo it myself. Sabuchu's words were cut off by a single look from her. I already said, call me your Lingling. Her voice was somewhat cold. Your Lingling? The owner of the 9-Heart Begonia, a member of the royal fighting team. What a coincidence. Yichu hadn't expected that the girl who helped him would be Yi Lingling. Someone born with the burden of death? Alright, Lingling. You guys quickly put away your martial spirits, it's not good to scare the little girl. Sabuchu seemed not to have heard that and began to call out to his followers. Yi Lingling only slightly raised her eyebrows. Kid, did you hear what Lingling said? Let go quickly, ouch. Ouch. Seeing that the other party was about to stop, Yichu pushed him away. He cupped his hands to Yi Lingling. Thank you, young lady, no need, I only helped you because of the little girl. Yi Lingling avoided Yichu's gaze and responded lightly. Then I thank you, sister. Xiao Lan raised her hand and jumped out from behind Yichu, imitating Yichu's actions in a very convincing way. This made Yi Lingling's eyes light up with a faint smile. Seeing this, Sabuchu, who had just been released, stopped crying out in pain and shamelessly moved closer to Yi Lingling. Yichu nodded to Yichu and Yi Lingling, ignoring Sabuchu, and left. The boy, eager to pursue her, followed closely behind. Lingling, wait for me. How is it? Wasn't I obedient? As long as you marry me, I promise. Watching the departing figure, Yichu shook his head. It seemed there were quite a few sycophants among the nobility. Sabuchu, with that name, hadn't disgraced the Saidio family. Suddenly, Yichu's eyes narrowed. He noticed the hatred in Sabuchu's eyes when he turned back. Looks like I need to be more careful. If he dares to come, I'll send him on his way. Chapter 54 Auction House. After the excitement subsided and the crowd dispersed, Yichu crouched down and gently wiped Xiao Lan's still tearful eyes with his thumb. How are you? Are you alright? Xiao Lan's fine, it's just that the candied hawthorn is gone, she pouted, still thinking about the candied hawthorn that had fallen to the ground. Brother bought you some, then I want to. She held up a pair of peace signs, her azure eyes shining. No problem, this time, Yichu didn't dare let her run around, and directly picked her up. Mwah, brother's the best. Haha, the sweet taste of the candy lingered on Yichu's lips, sticky and making him glare at Xiao Lan, which only made her giggle. In the distance, while Yichu and the others were arguing, their Sharingan flashing, a luxurious carriage drove by. It was the personal carriage of the Imperial Crown Prince Zhu King. He had just had a small gathering with his teacher, Ning Fengzi of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School. Inside the carriage, Zhu King, who had been taking a nap, frowned. For a fleeting moment, he actually felt a tremor in his martial spirit, as if something was drawing it in. He lifted the curtain and looked towards the crowd. Go see what's going on over there. The order had barely been given when a subordinate stepped forward to inquire. Your Highness, it's a conflict between the young master of Count Saidio's family and a commoner. As the accompanying attendant finished reporting, the crowd dispersed. Zhu King frowned. That feeling was fleeting. Could it have been his imagination? Looking in that direction, he saw the back of a blue-haired youth carrying a little girl. Phew. Let's go back to the palace. He rubbed his temples and ordered his subordinates to continue. Perhaps he was just too tired. Yichu hadn't walked far before heading towards the carriage. Looking back, he remembered that when he tried to use his Sharingan earlier, it seemed somewhat excited. He glanced around strangely, but there was nothing unusual. Brother, what are you looking at? Let's hurry and buy some candied hawthorns. Okay, let's go buy them right away. Urged on by the little glutton, Yichu put aside his doubts and quickly left. After buying 2 more skewers of candied hawthorns, Yichu and Xiao Lan continued looking for a place to stay. Looking at the 3 gold soul coins remaining in his bag, Yichu felt he had to spend the night in the divine might space. Sigh, brother, what's wrong? Xiao Lan, licking her candied hawthorn, looked up at him curiously. Nothing, huh? A magnificent golden domed building appeared in Yichu's sight. Judging from here, the building was estimated to be at least 500 meters in diameter, and the golden dome was very eye-catching. The heavenly Dao auction house. How could I forget about this? He clenched his fist and slapped his palm, only then remembering that he still had a soul bone produced by a 4,000-year-old Jedi cloud-winged tiger in his divine might space. This thing would definitely fetch several million gold soul coins at auction. Little Blue, come on. Brother will take you to the auction house. He took her little hand and headed there. Brother, what's an auction house? Little Blue's short legs couldn't keep up with Yichu's speed. She even stopped eating her candied hawthorn and was led by Yichu to run. Well, it's a place where things are sold. After brother sells the things, I'll buy you lots of delicious food. Great. How you but brother, can you not walk so fast? Little Blue is so tired of Yichu paused, only then realizing that her face was already flushed and her breathing was a little disordered. Ha ha ha, sorry, brother's fault. Yichu simply picked her up again. When they arrived at the entrance of the auction house, the magnificent facade made Yichu sigh. To be able to acquire such a large piece of land in the capital city, where every inch of land is precious, was truly outrageous. Even the marble door frames were inlaid with gemstones. It's so pretty here. The little girl was powerless against anything sparkly. Even her candied hawthorn skewers lost their appeal as she couldn't take her eyes off the sights. Brother, the ladies at the entrance are so pretty too. Looking in the direction she pointed, several welcoming staff members stood at the entrance. The 4 young women appeared to be around 20 years old, of similar height, with beautiful faces, slender and graceful figures, wearing white floor-length dresses studded with silver threads, giving them a touch of elegance. They wore professional, gentle smiles. Yichu, holding Xiao Lan, stood not far from the entrance, and Xiao Lan's voice was undoubtedly heard. Such a sweet talker, little girl, but not just anyone can go in here. The girl closest to Yichu's smile became more genuine. She was clearly happy. What are the requirements to enter? Yichu stepped forward, asking with a smile. She then noticed how handsome and extraordinary the man before her was. A blush appeared on her face as she showed no sign of disrespect, placing her hands in front of her and bowing slightly. Young master, there are 2 ways to enter. One is to pass the bidding qualification certification, which is divided into different levels. The lowest threshold is having 10,000 gold soul coins in assets. He glanced up and then added, the other way is to consign items to our auction house. Only items valued at over 1,000 gold soul coins, after being appraised by our appraisers, can qualify you to participate in the auction. If the auction is successful, we will take 1/10 of the winning bid as a commission. I see. May I introduce you to one of your appraisers? I have some items that need to be auctioned. Ah. Of course, no problem. Follow me. He gestured for them to enter, swaying his slender waist and taking small steps as he walked inside. Yichu followed with Xiao Lan. As they passed, the girls on both sides couldn't help but glance at him a few more times. Brother, the ladies are all peeking at you. Their voices weren't quiet, but they were enough for others to hear. Not only did they lower their heads awkwardly, but Yichu also felt a little embarrassed. I was looking at you, after all. You're so cute. He pinched her cheek, nodded apologetically to the girls on either side. Look, their faces are all red. Yichu covered her mouth, glared at her, and stopped her from saying anything more. Following behind the girl, they walked along a long corridor. The marble on both sides was carved with dragons and phoenixes, as well as reliefs of various soul beasts. Every few steps there was a glass cabinet filled with all sorts of rare treasures, quite magnificent. The girl leading the way, also chuckled. The little girl is so cute. Thank you, miss, you're very pretty too, but aren't you tired of swaying your hips like that? Hearing Xiao Lan's words, she stopped, her face turning red with embarrassment. Her walking rhythm changed, and her posture became strange. She was too embarrassed to sway anymore. Ouch, Children say the darndest things, children say the darndest things, haha. Yichu chuckled dryly. This time he directly tapped Xiao Lan's head. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll sell you. No. Little Blue won't say anything more. Biting her lip, she hugged Yichu's neck and started to whine, twisting and turning for a while before finally calming down. Yichu was led into a large hall, where a round table was placed. Opposite him sat 7 old men, wearing monocles, their cloudy eyes gleaming with shrewdness. I wonder what young brother wants to auction. Among them, the oldest man gestured for Yichu to sit down. Suddenly, a brocade box appeared in Yichu's hand. This is a head soul bone from the 4,000-year-old soul beast, the jade-eyed cloud-winged tiger, Clang. He placed the box in the center and pushed it towards the opposite side. A soul bone. Several people immediately stood up. Soul bones were extremely rare. The leader carefully opened the brocade box, his face reflecting a green light. Hiss, it really is a soul bone, and a precious head soul bone at that. Apart from the external soul bone, the most precious parts of the 6-piece soul bone set were the torso bone and the skull. He carefully picked it up, examining it with his monocle. How is it? Yichu looked at them after they put it down. Young man, no. VIP, we're prepared to start the bidding with 1 million gold soul coins. Is that alright? The head appraiser bowed to Yichu and offered their opinion. Wow. 1 million. Brother, Xiaolan excitedly shook Yichu's head. Of course, no problem, such a huge sum of money made Yichu's heart flutter. Alright, then take this young master to the red VIP area. Yes, sir. Please come with me. I'll take you two to complete the necessary procedures. At the old man's instruction, the young woman was still leading Yichu. She hadn't expected that the young man she brought in would have such wealth. It seemed her commission this month would definitely be substantial. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55 Rookie. The procedures they mentioned weren't complicated, it was simply opening a gold soul coin savings card. The starting bid of 1 million gold soul coins had already been deposited into the card, and the balance would be paid after the auction. Auctions were held all day, but the rare items section was only held for 1 hour in the evening. Yichu's head soul bone was truly a rare item. Since it was still early, Yichu received the savings card and the badge representing his identity and was led to the waiting room. The girl who had led the way had already left. Little Blue started eating as soon as she saw the fruit, her eyes crinkling like crescent moons. So sweet. Brother, you should eat some too, eat less, don't overeat again. Yichu looked at her speechlessly. She always ate so much, yet her soul power didn't seem to increase. It seemed that staying outside all the time was consuming a lot of energy. He shook his head helplessly and quietly waited for night to fall. Knock knock. A knock sounded at the door. Young master, it's time. A girl's voice came from outside. Xiaolan, it's time to go. Coming. Seeing her movements, Yichu's forehead creased with a few black lines. We've had more than enough already, haven't you had enough yet? Xiaolan was holding a fruit platter piled high with fruit. I'll take this with me, what if I get hungry later? Yichu's eyes twitched. Who was that burping just now? Come on, there was no way he could spoil her. Who else would? Please follow me. This way the girl leading the way was quite professional. Seeing the heavily pregnant Xiaolan carrying a large platter of fruit, she didn't change her expression. Every 10 steps or so, she would stop and point out the direction again. Xiaolan obediently followed him. When they reached the inner entrance, the girl leading the way left. Before she turned around, Yichu thought she was definitely covering her mouth and giggling. He squatted down and wiped her juice-covered face, then put the mask provided by the auction house on Xiaolan. Don't talk nonsense once you're inside. Smacking sounds. She nodded to Yichu in a moment, her mouth still full of food. Yichu sighed and put on his mask, pinning the red badge to his chest, and went inside with Xiaolan. As soon as he entered the inner area, Yichu was almost blinded by the dazzling sight. All the waitresses inside were women, and their figures were far more voluptuous than the girls who greeted people outside. Although they were all dressed in white, these waitresses wore tight-fitting short skirts that exposed their arms, with their skirts barely reaching their waists. Their long, white legs moved back and forth with their flowing curves. Yichu, an honest man, didn't know whether to look or not. After all, he was still a normal man. How could he be tested like this? Young master. As soon as Yichu entered, a voluptuous waitress came up to him, smiling brightly and acting with fiery enthusiasm. She immediately grabbed Yichu's arm. The red VIP area is this way, please follow me. A voice, sweet and alluring, whispered in Yichu's ear. Okay, feeling the pressure on his arm, Yichu stammered. Brother, wait for Xiaolan. Xiaolan, carrying a fruit platter, chased after Yichu. The entire auction house was like the Roman Colosseum, with the auction stage at the very bottom center. The red VIP area was closest to the stage, followed by black, purple, yellow, and white. Red seats were the fewest, representing millions in wealth, while white seats were the most numerous, with starting bids of 1,000 gold soul coins. A sexy waitress led Yichu to his seat, helped him sit down, then bent down, revealing a patch of white skin, and whispered in his ear, her hot breath brushing against his face. Young master. You can come to me if you need anything. Few. Cough. No, I don't need anything. Yichu's face flushed red, and he quickly waved his hands and shook his head. The woman left with a smile, having not seen such an interesting man in a long time. Brother, why did you walk so fast? I thought you didn't want Xiaolan anymore at this moment. Xiaolan caught up with Yichu. How could that be? It was that older sister who pulled me. Yichu's face was still a little red, but thankfully his mask covered half his face. Xiaolan handed Yichu the fruit plate, then sat in his lap. Then I'll feed you, brother. Alright, Yichu nodded, and she placed her hand on his forehead to wipe away his sweat. Haha. Can't even handle this? What a newbie. A discordant voice came from the seat next to Yichu. The surroundings were relatively empty, only the seat next to Yichu was occupied. Yichu and Xiaolan both looked over. The speaker was a young girl, not very old, wearing a simple white dress that gave her a clean look. She had blue eyes, brown hair, smooth skin, delicate features, and a gentle, noble air, but her words were completely at odds with her demeanor. She was sitting on the lap of a middle-aged man who seemed very gentle, giving off a gentlemanly air. Strangely, neither of them wore masks or badges indicating their VIP status. Xiaolan glared at her, swallowing her food. Gulp. What did you say? Brother isn't a newbie, then you're an old bird, huh? The girl opposite her looked mocking and smug, as if she'd found a fun toy. Nonsense, brother isn't a bird, isn't he? I don't think so, brother wouldn't have, Yichu quickly covered Xiaolan's mouth, looking at the girl in surprise. Were all city girls like this? She looked like she had received higher education, but her words were so vulgar. What are you looking at? You, ahem. Okay, if you keep this up, I won't bring you out next time. Seeing that the girl was about to say something even more indecent, the middle-aged man couldn't sit still any longer, lightly patting her head to interrupt her. I know, Daddy. HMPH, the girl snorted coldly, glaring at Yichu again, her spoiled nature evident. The middle-aged man simply smiled indulgently at his daughter's behavior, turned to Yichu and nodded, his voice gentle and soothing. Sorry, young man, my daughter is a bit naughty. It's alright. Yichu shook his head. It was just a minor squabble. A flicker of surprise crossed the middle-aged man's eyes. He possessed a special soul skill that allowed him to discern the approximate level of others' soul power, but he couldn't tell the soul power of the brother and sister beside him. HMPH, Dad, why are you talking bad about me again? I'm ignoring you. His daughter's complaint interrupted his thoughts. He gave a wry smile. Alright. Whatever you fancy later, just buy it. This extravagant statement made Yichu glance at him. You said it. Don't regret it later. The girl mischievously rolled her eyes. And feeling Yichu's gaze, she curled her lip in disdain. Brother, let's eat fruit and ignore that bad sister. Xiaolan turned Yichu's face, put the fruit to his mouth, and glared angrily at the girl. You're the bad one. You little brat, you're so big and still sitting on daddy's lap, you're still a little brat. HMPH, X2. The two little girls, one big and one small, met eyes, both snorted coldly, and turned their heads away. Noticing the middle-aged man's gaze, they smiled politely. Yichu took the fruit Xiaolan offered, chuckling as he pinched her little cheek. Sisters are so sweet. Chapter 56 hit a brick wall. The auction was about to begin. After a brief opening, the host immediately introduced the first item, a bracelet that looked quite old and still emitted faint fluctuations of soul power. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a special soul tool, containing 1 cubic meter of space. The starting bid is 3,000 gold soul coins, so it really is a soul tool. Yichu glanced at Xiaolan in his arms and dismissed the thought. If something happened to her, she could return, but her belongings would be lost, a classic case of equipment dropping, and ultimately, someone else would benefit. Brother, is there anything to eat here? Xiaolan, noticing his gaze, leaned close to his ear and whispered, making Yichu's ear itch slightly. I don't know. If you have anything you like later, just tell me. He playfully pinched her nose and wrapped his arms around her waist. TCH, the girl's voice beside him still carried a hint of disdain. HMPH, Yichu ignored her, but Xiaolan made a face at him. During this time, the soul tool was finally sold for 12,000 gold soul coins. Although its space was relatively small, it was quite rare. The items at this auction were dazzling and all-encompassing. They even dared to touch the slave trade, which was explicitly prohibited by the two great empires. The next item to be auctioned was a large sword crafted by Lu Gao's apprentice. It was quite beautiful, but unfortunately, a soul master's strength mainly depends on their martial soul. This kind of item, which could not help a soul master better exert their soul power and martial soul, was not of much value. Yichu, who had sharp eyes, noticed that the middle-aged man next to him had already pressed the bidding button and started bidding. I'll buy it to keep as a collection. Seemingly noticing Yichu's curiosity, he explained. Yichu nodded in understanding. This was probably the world of the rich. Time passed slowly, and the auction was already halfway through. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item will definitely catch your eye. The host's voice, transmitted through the special soul tool in front of him, spread throughout the entire venue. Please look. The host looked up and raised his hands. A clanging sound came from above, following the host's gaze. A large, square iron cage slowly descended. At the same time, a floral fragrance wafted through the air, and flower petals began to fall from the ceiling. Yichu frowned, already guessing what was inside. As the cage fell, the scene inside was revealed. Inside were two twin girls with empty eyes, dressed in bikinis made of seashells, what could be called clothing. Each had a pair of cat ears standing upright on their heads, and two tails, one black and one white, swaying from their lower backs. The two girls were embracing, their faces and bodies flushed. Thud. The cage landed in front of the host, who already held a long stick in his hand. Gentlemen, these black and white cat-eared sisters are absolutely the cream of the crop. After our training, they're incredibly smooth. They'll definitely give you the ultimate experience. They can even boost your confidence and help you say goodbye to drugs. Hey, is it really as amazing as you say? Creatures is understandable, but how does it boost confidence? Yeah, explain. In the VIP section, many men started to jeer, eager to see for themselves. Since that's the case, I won't waste any more time. Let me show you the effect. The host smiled confidently. Holding a stick covered in animal fur, he poked the white catwoman's waist. Eek, as if by magic, the moment she was touched, the white catwoman let out a seductive sound, and her body blushed. Her legs involuntarily stiffened and pressed tightly together. She trembled slightly, as if from fear, before returning to normal after a while, but her face and ear tips remained red. At once seeing this scene, some of the lust-driven men in the VIP section began to howl like wolves. Ladies and gentlemen, how was it? Did this level of reaction help you regain your confidence? To avoid wetting the carpet, I won't touch it again. The starting price for this item is 300,000 gold soul coins. Each bid must be at least 10,000 gold soul coins. Bang! The host returned to his position and slammed down his gavel. Now, the bidding begins. As soon as the words fell, dozens of guests began bidding. 350,000 gold soul coins, 380,000. 400,000 gold soul coins. Sigh. Yichu silently closed his eyes. That sharp reaction suggested the torment these two sisters had endured. Disgusting, the girl beside him watched coldly, her expression one of disgust towards those around her. Sigh, this pair is beyond saving. Her father, the middle-aged man, also sighed and shook his head. This was the tragedy of the lower classes. Brother, why are they scrambling to buy those two young ladies? In Yichu's arms, Xiaolan looked at the surrounding uncles, their faces flushed, somewhat bewildered. Before he could speak, the girl beside him, her eyes darting around, laughed and said, because they like to spank girls, huh? Little Blue, newly acquainted with the world, had no idea what that meant. You have to be careful. If you get caught by bad guys one day, they might sell you to them for a spanking too. She clenched her fist and gave Little Blue a provocative smile. Hearing this, Yichu's eyes turned dangerous, flashing red light. Wrong. The middle-aged man also realized that the joke had gone a bit too far, and frowned, glaring at her. I don't want to. Brother will protect me. Little Blue threw herself into Yichu's arms, her eyes even getting a little wet at the thought of those people trying to devour the Catgirl sisters. Don't worry, brother will definitely protect you. Yichu gently patted her back. His eyes, however, were fixed on the girl, bloodshot with 3 tomo marks, his pupils shifting to the corners of his eyes as he squinted at her, his voice icy. I think you're disgusting too. He even cast a small illusion spell while speaking, subtly guarding his eyes. The girl caught a glimpse of Yichu's eyes and was startled. She cried out in surprise, almost falling to the ground. Wrong. Are you alright? The middle-aged man looked at his daughter with concern. She ignored her father and went straight to the back of the seat. Grandpa Jian. That person bullied me. I saw it. The authoritative voice carried a hint of anger. Yichu was startled. There was someone behind him. He hadn't even noticed. Looking back, he saw a silver-haired man in a white robe, tall and imposing, his aura restrained and unyielding. His eyes, which had been slightly closed, suddenly opened, meeting Yichu's gaze. Sharp. Deadly sharp. An invisible sword aura emanated from his cold gaze crack. Before he could react, Yichu's mask was neatly split in two without warning and slid off his face. His eyes stung. Closing his eyes, tears welled up. Yichu lowered his head, covering his eyes. He had actually kicked a hornet's nest. Wait. It seems I've overlooked something incredible. Wrong. Grandpa sword. Yichu's heart skipped a beat. It was the 7 treasure glazed tile school. He hadn't expected these 3 to be Ning Fengzi, Ning Rongrong, and Sword Douluo Chenzin. Uncle Sword. Show mercy. The middle-aged man's voice further confirmed Yichu's suspicions. Chapter 57. Not short of money. The moment Yichu's mask fell off, Ning Rongrong saw his face clearly and was slightly surprised. This guy isn't bad looking at all, brother. Are you alright? Xiaolan dropped what she was holding and anxiously hugged Yichu's head, trying to make him look up. I'm fine. Yichu rubbed his eyes and looked up, his azure eyes bloodshot. Uncle Jian, let it go. Ning Fengzi put his hand in front of Yichu, signaling the sword Douluo to stop. Rongrong's words were indeed a bit much. Fengzi, I'm not blind or deaf. Rongrong was quite frightened just now. Consider this a lesson for him. The sword Douluo cherished Ning Rongrong dearly and didn't want her to suffer any injustice. However, he could distinguish right from wrong. He didn't want to argue any further. He turned to look at Ning Rongrong. Rongrong, are you alright? Rongrong, huh? Ning Rongrong heard the call, came back to her senses, and blushed slightly. I'm fine. I just saw some scary things. She patted the empty shell in front of her. You're all bad people. You wanted to sell Xiaolan, and you bullied my brother. Xiaolan hate you. Xiaolan clung to Yichu like a koala, wrapping her legs around his waist, as if trying to protect him. Hearing her words, Yichu fell silent. She was still just a child. He gently patted her and released her. Don't worry, it's alright, he then explained to Sword Douluo and Ning Fengzi. Don't worry, seniors, I only used a small illusion. It won't harm your daughter, HMPH. If it weren't for that, you'd already be a corpse, Sword Douluo sneered, standing with his hands behind his back. This junior thanks seniors for showing mercy. Yichu hadn't expected that the talkative girl was actually the little witch Ning Rongrong. Her verbal skills were indeed impressive. The situation calmed down, and everyone returned to their previous state. The auction for the Catgirl twins was also coming to an end. Clang. The gavel fell, and the announcer's voice echoed throughout the hall. Congratulations to Earl Sadio for winning the pair of Catgirls for 880,000 gold soul coins. Sadio? What a coincidence. Yichu looked across at the man sitting opposite him, a portly middle-aged man with a face full of fat. Looking at him, Yichu's eyes welled up again, and he blinked unconsciously. Brother. Let Xiaolan heal you. A gentle breeze blew warm air towards Yichu's eyes. Okay, Yichu nodded in agreement. At this moment, he couldn't use his soul bone skill, lest it cause unforeseen complications. Xiaolan gently covered his eyes with her hand, and a yellow soul ring flashed from her body. First soul skill, endless life. A shimmering green light appeared in her hand, and a dense life force entered his eyes. In a short while, Yichu felt himself fully recovered. Beside him, Ning Fengzi and his daughter both turned to look at them. Just now, through the fluctuations of soul power emanating from Yichu, Ning Fengzi had already estimated his cultivation level. He had thought he was already a genius, but he hadn't expected this little girl to be even more outstanding. She was very likely to possess innate full soul power. Ning Rongrong, on the other hand, kept glancing at Yichu's profile. When she saw the soul ring on Xiaolan, she was somewhat surprised, as she had only recently obtained her second ring. I wonder which family these two belong to? If they are commoners, Ning Fengzi already had the intention to recruit them. For the 7 treasure glazed tile school at its current state, replenishing its manpower was still very necessary. The next item to be auctioned. It's a soul bone. The host's voice pulled Ning Fengzi's attention back to the auction. Behind the host, a scantily clad maid carried a brocade box and placed it on the table. Ladies and gentlemen, this soul bone is a rare head soul bone, from a 4,000-year-old jade-eyed cloud-winged tiger. As he spoke, he opened the brocade box, his face turning green in an instant. A burst of emerald green light shone out, attracting the gaze of every soul master present. After joint appraisal by the appraisers, it has been named the Spirit Dispersion Shock Skull. It possesses the ability to attack and disrupt the mind of enemies. Without further ado, everyone knows how rare soul bones, especially skulls, are. The starting price is 1 million gold soul coins, and each bid must be at least 100,000 gold soul coins. Snap, the auction begins now. 1,500,000 gold soul coins. Right from the start, someone immediately added 500,000 gold soul coins, a terrifying price, but the rarity of soul bones still drew crowds. The price continued to rise, soon breaking the 2 million mark. In the VIP section, Xiao Lan's eyes were already sparkling, and she had already started calculating, "Brother, how much food can 2 million buy?" You little glutton, after the auction, I'll buy you whatever you want to eat." He pinched her nose and shook it. Slightly hurt, she glared at Yichu. "Brother, you hurt me. I won't heal you next time, so this soul bone was consigned by you, young man. You're quite the prodigy." Ning Fengzi overheard their conversation. "It's nothing special, just a lucky find," Yichu replied with a smile, neither humble nor arrogant. When his gaze swept over Ning Rongrong, he noticed her slight panic and evasive eyes, but Yichu didn't take it to heart. "Your luck is truly amazing," Ning Fengzi sighed, knowing Yichu didn't want to elaborate. His hand was already on the button beside him. 5 million, the host's loud voice rang out. "Someone in the red VIP area has bid 5 million gold soul coins. Any higher bids?" He only asked one question before waiting quietly. In fact, 5 million was already a significant overbid. The surrounding people saw that it was Ning Fengzi who had bid, and the price was already quite high, so there was no need to raise the bid further. If they didn't win, they would only offend the 7 treasure glazed tile skull for nothing. 5 million for the first time. 5 million for the second time. 5 million for the third time. Snap, the hammer struck with a satisfying thud. Sold. Congratulations to the VIP in the red zone for acquiring this head soul bone. Yichu only reacted after hearing the hammer strike. "Senior, aren't you being a bit too extravagant?" Soul bones are incredibly rare, of course I have to make the most of it." Although Ning Fengzi wouldn't let his daughter absorb it, his 7 treasure glazed tile skull was wealthy and powerful. He could always use it if he bought it. "I wonder which family you 2 siblings come from? Perhaps I have some connection with your elders. We're just commoners." Yichu understood his thoughts and spoke frankly about his origins. "I see." Ning Fengzi wanted to say something more, but was interrupted by Xiao Lan's voice. "Brother, I want that." Yichu looked in the direction she pointed. It turned out to be the next item up for auction after the soul bone. A tray sat before the auctioneer's table, with a small brocade box containing a black object. "What's that?" Yichu looked at her in confusion. Little Blue doesn't know either, but I just want it. She lightly touched her lips with her index finger, tilting her head slightly. It was her intuition. "Alright, brother will buy it for you," Yichu readily agreed. Little Blue's intuition couldn't be unfounded, perhaps it was some kind of destiny. Anyway, money wasn't an issue. Chapter 58, Selling One's Body. "What? Young man, you want that seed?" Ning Fengzi's eyes were a little strange. Yichu's eyes flashed with surprise. "That's actually a seed? I really can't tell." Noticing Ning Fengzi's strange expression, Yichu was a little puzzled. "Is there something wrong with it?" "There's no problem, it's just been in this auction for a month or so." Ning Fengzi often frequented auction houses and remembered this item. He didn't say much, just smiled at Yichu. "Maybe you can find a bargain, haha. Hopefully." "Ladies and gentlemen, what you see now is the last item for auction." The host's voice lacked its previous enthusiasm. Many complaints came from the VIP seats, and some people even stood up, intending to leave. Why are they bringing out this thing again to fool people? Yet, isn't it just a broken seed that can't grow? Hey. The bid dropped from 100,000 to 10,000 before. How much will they bid this time? Haha. Hearing these comments, the host was also a little embarrassed. This item has been unsold for too long. If it doesn't sell this time, it'll just gather dust in the warehouse. There's no other way. It was painstakingly salvaged from a dilapidated ruin by the higher-ups, along with other items. They couldn't figure out anything from it, so they had to put it up for auction to recoup some losses. Yichu in the VIP area hadn't expected this situation either. Finding a bargain was a bit risky, but at least he could save some gold soul coins. Ladies and gentlemen, although we haven't figured out anything about this item, perhaps it will find its destined owner someday. Are you kidding me? Didn't someone who bought it before return it? Another round of shouting and cursing erupted. The host dared not say anything more. Everyone present was wealthy and powerful, and he was just an employee. He couldn't afford to offend them. He quickly brought down his gavel. Crack. Starting price. 1,000 gold soul coins. Bidding begins now. The atmosphere suddenly turned cold, and the host showed a disappointed expression. After a long silence, beep, suddenly, a voice rang out, and the words 1,000 gold soul coins appeared prominently on the bidding panel. His face lit up with joy. Without even tugging, he immediately shouted, as if afraid someone would back out. 1,000 gold soul coins once, 1,000 gold soul coins twice, 1,000 gold soul coins 3 times. Snap! Before the words had even finished, the gavel had already fallen. Congratulations to the VIP in the red zone for winning this item, finally sold. The host wiped the sweat from his brow. The task from above was finally completed. Hell, there really is a fool who would buy this, someone mocked. Yichu chuckled, surprised that it was so easy. HMPH. Spending money on junk. Ningrongrong's sarcastic voice came from the side. Yichu simply smiled calmly. The auction for rare items had ended, the host had left, and everyone was leaving. Brother, let's hurry and get that seed. Little Blue in his arms was already impatient. Seniors, that kid will take his leave now. Yichu bowed to Ning Fengzi and Sword Douluo in farewell. Hey. What about me? Ningrongrong stood up, hands on her hips, annoyed by Yichu's disregard. Brother, ignore that bad sister, let's go. Xiaolan tugged at Yichu's sleeve, about to leave. You brat. Wrong. Ning Fengzi raised his voice, signaling her to stop talking, and looked at Yichu and his sister who had just taken a step. He called out to them. Young man, why don't you come with me to the VIP room to wait? How about it? After a moment of silence, he calmed the anxious Xiaolan and didn't refuse. Then I'll trouble you, senior. Ning Fengzi beckoned a waiter and instructed them to take everything to the VIP room. Inside the VIP room, there was a gilded chandelier on the ceiling, a carpet on the floor, several leather sofas, and a fine rosewood coffee table in the center. The overall style was simple yet grand. Sword Douluo stood with his arms crossed, leaning against the wall by the door. Xiaolan had already removed her mask and was jumping on the sofa. When Ningrongrong sat down, she became a little scared and obediently sat down beside her. PFFD Ningrongrong covered her mouth. Am I that scary? Saying this, she reached out her claws towards Xiaolan, not expecting the little girl to be so cute, like a porcelain doll. The two wrestled, and Xiaolan, who had initially resisted, after hearing what Ningrongrong said, glanced at Yichu beside her and then jumped into her arms. On the other side, Yichu and Ning Fengzi were talking. May I ask how you are addressed, young brother? Ning Fengzi asked with a gentle smile, easily inspiring goodwill. A brief exchange. In this short time, Ning Fengzi revealed his identity and extended an olive branch to Yichu, who was almost swayed by the offered benefits. Thank you for your kindness, Sect Master Ning, but I don't have such thoughts at the moment. Yichu politely declined, but didn't completely rule out the possibility. A token engraved with the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda appeared in her hand. Brother, at this moment, Xiaolan threw herself into Yichu's arms, tears welling in her eyes and her cheeks flushed. Bad sister pinched me so hard. Hey. You were the one who let me pinch you willingly, Ningrongrong quickly explained when she saw the gazes directed at Yichu and Ning Fengzi. Hearing this, Yichu looked at Xiaolan with a curious gaze. She lowered her head, as if she had done something wrong, and cupped her face in her hands. It's, Bad sister said she has a lot of delicious food at home, and she said she would share it with Xiaolan, helplessly covering his face. Yichu never expected that she would sell her body for food. Ha, little girl, if you want to come to my 7 treasure glazed tile sect, you can come anytime. I will definitely treat you well then. Ning Fengzi couldn't help but laugh. He hadn't seen such an interesting child in a long time, much cuter than his own little devil. That's right, just let me rub you a couple more times, and I'll take you home right now. Ningrongrong rubbed her hands together, her expression turning somewhat wicked. She not only loved Xiaolan's smooth skin, but also her sweet scent. Xiaolan hesitated, her watery eyes wide. Noticing Yichu's serious expression, she shook her head, enduring the pain. No, brother will buy me some sweet treats. It was unclear whether she was heartbroken or embarrassed. She swallowed hard, wondering what Ningrongrong had used to seduce her. Brother, don't be angry. she said, hugging Yichu's neck and rubbing her face against his. Alright, you're practically wiping my face with tears. I'll take you to see it sometime. He pulled her away impatiently. Then it's settled, Ningfengzi spoke up promptly. Finalizing the deal. Knock knock, a knock sounded at the door. Several women brought in the items Yichu and his companions had purchased on a tray. Yichu also received a savings card with over 4 million gold soul coins. A 10% handling fee, that's really outrageous. She was also curious about the background of this auction house. Seeing the brocade box containing the jet black seeds, Xiaolan quickly ran over and hugged it. Seemingly forgetting her embarrassing moment of showing off her face, she grabbed Yichu's hand and urged him to leave. Although he found her unusual behavior strange, Yichu still took Xiaolan's hand and said goodbye to the three of them. Sect leader Ning and senior sword Douluo, Ning Rongrong, standing beside him, glanced over and glared at Yichu. And Miss Ning, Yichu will take his leave now, HMPH. You're smart enough to know your place. Hearing that Yichu finally didn't ignore her presence, she withdrew her slightly threatening gaze. Little sister, remember to come visit me sometime, Ningfengzi. Okay, then I'll be waiting for you at the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, Yichu. If I have the chance, Yichu will definitely pay you a visit. Yichu still wanted to maintain a good relationship with the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, which might become Tang San's ally in the future. It was just a few hidden weapons, after all. As long as there is a physical object, Yichu can draw a blueprint. Chapter 59 The Mysterious Seed. After Yichu left, Sword Douluo, who had been feigning sleep, opened his eyes. Fengzi, that kid is no ordinary person. Oh? Uncle Jian thinks so too. Ningfengzi picked up the water on the coffee table and took a small sip. TCH. He's just a great soul master. What's so special about him? He seems quite old too. Ning Rongrong didn't have much affection for Yichu, who had called her disgusting, scared her, and ignored her several times. HMPH. At most, he's just a bit handsome. She was completely unaware that Yichu was actually about the same age as her, only that his blue-silver emperor bloodline had caused him to develop faster. Wrong, don't underestimate him. Although he only has the cultivation of a great soul master, his spiritual power is probably beyond most soul masters, and even more. Really, would Grandpa Jian lie to you? Wrong, you still have a lot to learn. Ningfengzi smiled calmly, seemingly pleased with his judgment. Yichu, who had just taken Xiaolan outside, hadn't taken more than a few steps when he noticed someone spying on them from the shadows. Frowning, a reddish-purple light appeared in his eyes as he looked around. Xiaolan, clutching the box in one hand and holding Yichu's hand in the other, saw him frozen in place and asked, "Brother, what's wrong?" "Nothing, just a few little mice." Mice. Xiaolan looked around. Xiaolan didn't see any. Yichu shook his head and picked her up. "Never mind them, let's find a hotel first." Sabu Chu's henchman? "If they dare to come, then leave them all." He glanced at the hidden corner again and walked away. They found a reasonably nice hotel, 30 gold soul coins a day. Things had changed. This was nothing now. After checking in, as soon as they entered the room, Xiaolan eagerly took out a dark, unappealing seed. What's this thing used for? Xiaolan doesn't know either, but it contains powerful life force. Xiaolan took out the seed, holding it in her palm, her azure pupils gazing at it silently. She felt this thing was calling to her, enticing her. Swallowing hard, she picked up the seed and took a few bites. "Ah, it's so hard." Little Blue's teeth are going to fall out. Her eyes darted around, and she offered the saliva-covered, jet-black seed to Yichu. "Why don't you try biting it, brother?" "Don't be silly." She pushed away the slightly damp, glistening seed. Yichu scratched his head, somewhat confused. Since it has such immense vitality, why can't it grow? "Can't grow," Little Blue murmured, suddenly remembering her first soul skill. A faint life force surged towards her palm. "Brother! Look!" Little Blue's exclamation made Yichu turn his head. The jet-black seed, which had been lying quietly in her palm, was now absorbing life force and slowly floating into the air. First soul skill. Endless life. A soul ring rose beneath her feet, and Little Blue increased her output. In just a moment, she had consumed a significant amount of the energy she had gained from eating, and her body became somewhat ethereal. "Brother, help Xiaolan." Yichu understood, controlling his soul power to slowly flow towards the blue-silver emperor mark on his heart. In the quiet room at night, a voice was added. "Crack, almost imperceptible. Yichu opened his Sharingan, surprised to find that the black layer around the seed was slowly cracking. Suddenly, a green light appeared inside the black seed. Crack crack, buzz under their gaze, the black color turned to ash, dissipating as a wisp of smoke. The now green seed floated up, suspended in midair. Invisible ripples spread out, and a soft, vibrant green light filled the entire room. The light wasn't very strong, but Yichu narrowed his eyes, feeling a warmth, as if bathed in the warm spring sun, his soul power even slightly increasing. Xiaolan looked up, her gaze suddenly becoming devout, motionless. Xiaolan? Yichu noticed something was wrong with her, her eyes glazed over. He tried to pull her away, but missed. Even trying to retract her into his body was impossible. Her body slowly floated up, and the green seed entered her mouth without warning. From the outside, a green glide passed over her neck, chest, and abdomen, disappearing without a trace. What's going on? Yichu was shocked to discover that the blue-silver emperor mark on his heart suddenly emitted a surge of soul power, his soul power actually breaking through to level 23. Little Blue? She's grown again. In the air, Little Blue's body slowly grew. The illusory image of the blue-silver emperor appeared behind her, and the first yellow soul ring appeared beneath her feet, followed by another soul ring, changing from white to yellow, with a faint hint of green. Yichu froze in shock. Breaking through level 10 instantly? Just as he was about to step forward, Little Blue opened her eyes, her aura changing, like a high and mighty goddess, imbued with a sense of holiness and majesty. Her azure pupils flashed with green light and were veiled in a faint golden hue. Her gaze fell upon Yichu, gentle yet scrutinizing, noble yet somewhat unfamiliar. Is this Little Blue? What's going on? The gaze, filled with irresistible pressure, immobilized Yichu, rendering him unable to even use his soul power. Fortunately, this scrutiny didn't last long. In just a moment, the golden light in those eyes vanished without a trace. Xiaolan had returned to normal, the unusual light on her body dissipated, and she slowly landed, leaving only a thin, leaf-like mark on her forehead that flashed by. Brother having just regained consciousness, she rushed towards Yichu, wanting to share her joy of breakthrough with him. Thump. Ouch! Yichu was knocked to the ground by her. Brother, what's wrong? He hurriedly tried to pull him up. Hiss, it's nothing. I just lost my balance. The pain in his back made him grimace. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Yichu looked at Xiaolan, who had grown quite a bit taller, and felt a little worried. He directly reached out, pinching her chin with one hand and squeezing her cheeks with the other. He peered into her mouth, as if searching for the green seed. Any strange feelings? Ugh! Yichu pinched her mouth shut, preventing her from speaking. Slap. She pulled her hand away, wiping the drool from the corner of her mouth. Brother, what are you doing? Xiaolan is fine, and she even gained an amazing ability. She jumped onto the bed, spun around, and gave Yichu a thorough inspection. Are you really alright? What exactly is that seed? Yichu frowned. Xiaolan's state just now was like that of a completely different person. Xiaolan doesn't know either, but I'm really fine. She knelt on the bed, hugging Yichu from behind the covers, resting her head on his shoulder. Aren't you curious about Xiaolan's second soul skill, brother? Whoosh! Xiaolan exhaled a cool breeze, brushing against Yichu's cheek. A fragrant aroma wafted over, and Yichu felt his mind clear up considerably. What's going on? Yichu turned around, their noses touching. Yichu, unusually, didn't feel uncomfortable. Instead, the refreshing feeling intensified. Yichu didn't blush, but Xiaolan's face was a little rosy. This is Xiaolan's second soul skill, blue-silver fragrance. It can detoxify, remove all negative statuses. It can also be a body fragrance. She hugged Yichu tightly, her second soul ring flashing, a rich, sweet fragrance filling the air around him. How about it? Isn't Xiaolan amazing? She touched Yichu's forehead with hers. Her efforts to increase her strength were to reduce Yichu's burden, which made her happiest. Yes, Yichu nodded. Xiaolan is indeed very powerful, and she really does smell good. By the way, what's the deal with these seeds? Thank you to all the readers for your recommendation tickets, monthly tickets, and rewards. Updates are stable. Chapter 60 Seed of Life. But while this soul skill is not bad, it can't really be called extraordinary, can it? Yichu remembered what Xiaolan had said earlier. She had gained an extraordinary ability. You're really clever. Xiaolan has another ability. Xiaolan praised him as well. Okay, let me show you. Xiaolan hugged Yichu tighter, seemingly a little nervous. Yichu turned his head to look and saw her suddenly close her eyes, her face flushed, her lips slightly parted, as if chanting a spell. When she opened her eyes again, seeing Yichu in front of her, she leaned forward, and a green light appeared in her mouth. Is this the seed? Yichu is still wondering. But Xiaolan had already moved closer. Cool, soft, and fragrant, that was Yichu's first impression. Both of them had blue hair and blue eyes, their tender faces blushing. Xiaolan's eyelashes trembled slightly, and she slowly closed her eyes, not daring to look any longer. Yichu's pupils dilated, the seed seemed to have been transferred into his mouth. He pushed Xiaolan away and stood up. Little Blue, why are you gulping? He swallowed the green light, which transformed into a warm current that flowed through his body and gathered at his heart, making his heartbeat even stronger. He pressed his hand to his throat, trying to vomit. Brother, don't be nervous, that was Little Blue's doing, Little Blue said, pursing her lips and kneeling on the bed, not daring to look at him, her face flushed red all the way down to her neck. This is your new ability. Yichu is somewhat shocked, pointing to his mouth and asking her, is this your new ability? No. Little Blue covered her face, collapsing onto the blanket, too embarrassed to speak further. Yichu also fell silent. Brother, a voice suddenly came from within his heart. Yichu frowned, looking at Little Blue lying on the bed. She hadn't spoken either. Little Blue is speaking in your heart, in my heart. He lifted his clothes, and sure enough, the blue-silver emperor mark on his heart was flashing. Now, brother, you only need to say what you want to say to Xiaolan in your heart, and Xiaolan will receive it. Xiaolan, who had been buried in the blanket, also raised her head, her face still flushed, but her mouth did not move at all. Yichu calmed down. What exactly is going on? The blue-silver emperor mark on his chest kept flashing. After a long time, through communication, Yichu finally understood what Xiaolan meant by that incredible ability. Seed of Life. A special ability that Xiaolan had acquired, a seed formed by condensing a portion of spiritual power, soul power, and life force together. This seed could reside in Yichu's body in place of Xiaolan, so that even if Xiaolan was not there, he could still use her soul skills. In addition, Xiaolan's survival ability was enhanced again. Even if her soul was annihilated, she could be resurrected by the seed of life. As long as Yichu did not die, it would be difficult for her to die. So this is the new ability you are talking about. Yichu looked at her happily. How about it? Isn't it amazing? Xiaolan's face, which had been flushed with shyness, blossomed into a smile. It's impressive, but just now, how come you? Yichu pointed at himself, looking at her strangely. That's because the seed of life, can't be exposed to light. Xiaolan's face turned red, and she stammered. Then she became certain again. Yes. It can't be exposed to light. Really? Of course it's true. How could Xiaolan lie? Seeing her somewhat forced smile, Yichu frowned, feeling that she was lying to him, but he had no proof. He stood there, staring at her. Okay. Hearing Yichu's voice, Xiaolan patted her chest. After figuring out these things, Yichu decided to test Xiaolan's soul skill. He opened his palm, looking at his palm, and was extremely satisfied with Xiaolan's gains. This so-called seed of life is like a complete resurrection card for Xiaolan. It's really powerful. Suddenly, a beautiful golden blue-silver grass appeared in his palm, and 2 yellow soul rings rose from his feet. Second soul skill, blue-silver fragrance. As soon as he finished speaking, the second ring lit up. A faint, almost imperceptible mist seemed to emanate from Yichu's body, spreading outwards. The closer one got, the denser the scent, and the better the detoxification and removal of negative effects. It really works. Yichu beamed with joy as he smelled the fragrance emanating from his own body. Brother Xiaolan jumped into his arms, wrapping her arms around his waist and neck. She sniffed Yichu's neck lightly. Wow, you smell so good too. Hey. You tickle. Stop it. Yichu tried to tilt his head back. If you don't hold me, Xiaolan will fall off. She took Yichu's hand and placed it on her waist, completely disregarding Yichu's feelings. How about it? From now on, Xiaolan can fight people with you. She raised her little fist seriously, making a fierce face. Yichu awkwardly wrapped his arms around her waist. What are you fighting about? You only have support-type soul skills. Get down now. Xiaolan won't get down. What's wrong with you? As my brother, holding me, Xiaolan pouted, not entirely convinced. HMPH. Not now, but later I'll have attack-type soul skills on. That seems to make sense. After laughing a couple of times, Yichu stopped trying to get her down. He changed the subject. But I'm going to take a shower. You should get down first. He untied her and put her on the bed. Watching Yichu's back, Xiaolan covered her face and rolled around on the bed. Finally, I got a kiss again. Her little face was flushed, but there was one incongruous spot, a few specks of green light emanating from her forehead. When Yichu came out, she bumped into his arms again, giggling. How about Xiaolan sleeps with you? Yichu, who had just come out of the shower, almost broke out in a sweat. Why did Xiaolan's words sound so strange? He put his arm around her small waist and tucked her into the bed. Go to sleep quietly, I'm going to cultivate for a while. Ignoring her somewhat unreasonable request, he sat down cross-legged to consolidate his improved soul power. However, when Yichu started to sleep, she was still awake. As soon as he lay down, Xiaolan snuggled up to him and squeezed into his arms. Smelling the fragrance wafting from her nose, she said, "Hey, can't you sleep properly? Turn off your second soul skill." Xiaolan didn't use her second soul skill. This is her own. Her flushed face pressed against Yichu's cheek, a cool, moist sensation imprinted on his face. "Good night." He kissed Xiaolan. "Don't go too far, I just washed my face." In the following days, Yichu and Xiaolan indulged in a feast in Yongdao City. The rats merely kept an eye on them and didn't do anything else. Over the next few days, Yichu, using the blueprints for this huge repeating crossbow he had previously obtained, pieced it together and manufactured it at the blacksmith's shop. He also bought some daggers similar to kunai. This huge repeating crossbow was quite powerful, more than capable of dealing with soul masters who lacked defense and speed. Little Blue, after you finish this meal, get some rest today. Tomorrow we'll go to Sunset Forest, okay? Eat slowly. At this moment, the two were in a restaurant. Little Blue was wolfing down her food, while Yichu gently patted her back. Chapter 61 Sunset Forest. The next morning, Yichu, relieved to see her two short legs wrapped around him, looked helplessly at Xiaolan, who was lying on him, her clothes disheveled, and drool still at the corner of her mouth. He reached out and flicked her smooth forehead. Her fair skin instantly turned red. She covered her head, looking at him with teary eyes. "Brother, why did you hit Xiaolan again? Don't you love Xiaolan anymore? Alright. Get up early, I already said we're going to Sunset Forest today." Twisting her little face, Yichu wondered if he was spoiling her too much, since she was always restless at night. "Brother, why aren't you carrying Xiaolan around? You're not so big anymore." At the city gate, Xiaolan held a string of candied hawthorns, tugging at his clothes, following closely behind Yichu. They walked towards Sunset Forest. In the shadows, Sabuchu's men had already returned to report that their target had left the city. Earl Sadio's mansion. Sabuchu, still fast asleep with his maid in his arms, was awakened by a commotion. Young master! They've left the city. They've left the city, what's all the noise?" "I'm having a dream date with Lingling," he mumbled, opening his eyes groggily. "Young master. Those two scoundrels who embarrassed you in front of Miss Lingling the other day have left the city. They seem to be heading to Sunset Forest." His attendant knelt on the ground, truthfully reporting Yichu and his companions' whereabouts. "Oh? Those two lowly commoners have left the city." Sabuchu sat up, directly onto his maid's chest, who could only grit her teeth and endure it silently. "Have Modeo take a few men. Once they enter Sunset Forest, make your move. Kill the man, and the woman. It's been a long time since I've seen such a beautiful young lady. I'll have my say when she arrives." The maid beneath him groaned. It turned out to be Sabuchu. As he spoke, he pinched the maid a few times, letting out a lewd laugh. If he weren't afraid that Yi Lingling would suspect him if he made a move in the city, that girl would have already been on his bed. "Don't worry, young master. I'll go prepare right away." After the attendant left, Sabuchu got up and lay back down, savoring his previous dream. Sigh. So angry first thing in the morning. Slap. A slap landed on the maid. "What are you waiting for? Do you expect me to do it myself and serve you instead?" The maid obeyed, as if retaliating for Sabuchu's earlier actions, and straddled him, intending to torment him. She seemed a little scared and couldn't help but groan, but after a few groans, she fell silent. Sabuchu's anger was just that. On the road away from Yongdao City, Yichu and his companion were already approaching Sunset Forest. Brother, why don't you let little tiger out? Why are you still riding? To wait for the rats to catch up. Rats. Little Blue poked her head out and looked back in confusion. There's nothing there. Yichu also glanced back. Once we enter the Sunset Forest, they'll probably make their move soon. Without saying anything more to Little Blue, he continued whipping his horse and galloping towards the Sunset Forest. The Sunset Forest is located in the center of the Heaven Dao Empire and is the largest forest on this continent besides the Star Dao Great Forest. The vegetation density is not as dense as in the Star Dao Great Forest, making movement much easier. In addition, the soul beasts living there are much weaker than those in the Star Dao Great Forest, most of them being between 1,000 and 10,000 years old, and the variety is not as rich. Not long after entering the Sunset Forest, Yichu pulled on the reins, and the horse slowly came to a stop. Little Blue's figure had already disappeared on the horse. Behind them, the sound of horses' footsteps came, then suddenly fell silent. Everyone. You've followed me for so long, it's time to come out and greet us, isn't it? Yichu turned his horse around, facing the direction from which the footsteps came. Clatter. A cloud of dust rose as several fine horses appeared before Yichu. Leading the group was none other than the guard he'd seen on the street that day, Sabuchu. He remembered Sabuchu's martial soul was a blade, and his soul rings were a mix of yellow and purple. Boy. Do you remember me? Riding his horse, Modeo's somewhat rough voice rang out as he approached Yichu, his face cruel. Haha, that guard who couldn't pee, of course I remember. What business do you have with me? A hint of mockery flashed across Yichu's face. Although this was the first soul master with a standard build he'd encountered, he didn't take him seriously. You don't think you can get away with offending my young master just because Miss Lingling is pleading for you, do you? Then what do you want? You're doomed, of course. By the way, where's that girl next to you? My young master specifically asked for her to warm his bed. Haha, Modeo laughed without any restraint. The henchman beside him couldn't help but chuckle. Big brother, why waste words with him? Let's finish the mission quickly, maybe the young master will reward us with some fun. Haha, hearing his unrestrained laughter, Yichu frowned, his Sharingan already appearing in his eyes. Blue hair, a fair face, and blood-red pupils gave him an eerie look, and his laughter was somewhat cold. If you know what's good for you, hand over that little girl, and I'll leave you with a whole corpse. Modeo conjured a large sword in his hand, pointing it directly at Yichu. Yichu didn't waste any words, and suddenly a huge repeating crossbow appeared in each of his hands. Fine, enough talk. Let's test its power with you. Swoosh. Several arrows were fired, Yichu trying to be impartial, giving each scoundrel a shot. Strangely, Modeo and the others didn't dodge. Huh? What's going on? Modeo looked at Yichu in surprise. In their eyes, Yichu had only tossed out a few roses. Seeing the roses drifting towards them, some were dismissive, looking at Yichu with contempt as if he were an idiot. Is this guy stupid? Giving us roses? Haha, haha. Yichu's actions elicited a burst of laughter. Thud, the sound of arrows piercing flesh rang out. The laughter abruptly stopped as roses bloomed from their necks. Not good. Everyone, get out of the way. Modeo, the strongest among them, was the first to sense something was wrong. However, his warning was too late. Thud, several more sounds rang out. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. The others didn't even have the chance to activate their martial spirits before dying from the sharpness of the roses. Damn it! A large sword materialized in his hand, slashing at the roses flying towards him. Clang! In his mind's eye, the delicate roses actually sparked from colliding with his broadsword. The true form of the roses appeared before his eyes, several dark arrows. Poisoned, Modeo looked at the black arrowheads lying on the ground, glanced around, and his face turned grim. His brothers, whom he had brought, were already dead before they even made a move. Kid? You? Modeo's expression was grave. Yo. As expected of a standard soul master, you actually saw through my little illusion at the last moment. Yichu held two huge repeating crossbows, brought them to his lips, and blew on them twice. Just now, when Yichu activated his Sharingan, he had already used an illusion on them. This fighting style seemed pretty good. I don't know why, but you want my life over a small conflict, boy. Enough nonsense. Prepare to die. Third soul skill. Earth-splitting strike. Without time to listen to Yichu's nonsense, Modeo leaped from his horse and slashed at Yichu. Bang! Dust billowed, the ground cracked, yet he struck nothing but empty air. Crouching, cold sweat beaded on his forehead. Yichu's figure was just a few steps in front of him. How is this possible? You were clearly standing right here. He looked up, staring at Yichu in horror. He was certain he hadn't misread anything. This is just a small application of illusion. What you saw was merely my illusion. Yichu smiled smugly, his huge crossbow already aimed at Yichu's head. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Investigation. Looks like you're going to hell today. Yichu's voice was icy. Sharp arrows shot out. Don't underestimate me. Fourth soul skill, blade key protection. Ha! Modeo shouted, his fourth purple soul ring flashing a dark light. He didn't pick up the great sword embedded in the ground, but simply straightened it, tip downwards, and pressed it down. Poof! The blade tip pierced the ground, soul power surging, transforming into violent blade key that scattered in all directions. Clang! Clang! Sparks flew as several arrows were knocked away. Next, Modeo looked up, grinning. The crisis was over, the advantage was in his hands. But, when he saw Yichu's mocking gaze, his words trailed off. Sorry, you don't have a next move. Yichu pointed at his neck, then wagged his index finger. Ugh, PFFT, Modeo's neck stiffened, spitting out a mouthful of blood, staring incredulously at the arrow stuck in his neck. This, cough cough, the great sword in his hand dissipated, blood choking his throat, rendering him speechless. His hands, clutching his neck, couldn't stop the bleeding. It's easy to understand. Actually, I fired 2 volleys of arrows, and you only saw one. Yichu hooked his index finger, using illusion magic to conceal this simple action of flipping a switch. With a thud, Modeo fell straight down, his eyes wide open. Before dying, his mind was filled with a pair of blood-red eyes with 3 tomo. Looking around the battlefield, Yichu realized that using illusion magic in battle was a good choice. Those who didn't know him would easily fall for it. After being baptized by the Blue-Silver Emperor bloodline, his mental strength had increased considerably, more than enough to deceive some inferior soul masters. If he used Tsukuyomi, even a newly ascended Soul King would stumble. Green light emanated from Yichu's body, coalescing into human form, and a natural fragrance wafted from his nose. Little Blue appeared in his arms. Brother! Are you alright? She had just come out and immediately started groping Yichu. Alright. Why are you getting more and more restless? Yichu brushed her hands away. I was just worried about you. She pouted. She wished she hadn't grown up yet. Since her breakthrough, her brother hadn't hugged her much. Ignoring the whining of Xiao, Yichu picked her up and jumped off the horse, releasing the long unseen jade-eyed cloud-winged tiger. The tiger was extremely affectionate towards Yichu, running to him with a hint of dependence in its eyes, sticking out its tongue to wash his face. Fortunately, Xiao blocked it. Brother! Why did you choose a tigress? She pressed down on the tiger's head, glaring fiercely at it, then complained to Yichu with a hint of resentment in her voice. I didn't think that much back then. As long as I could ride it, that was enough. Yichu rolled his eyes speechlessly, calmed the tiger down, and then helped Xiao onto its back. Alright. Let's get out of here as soon as possible. The smell of blood will attract a lot of soul beasts. Leaning against Yichu's chest, Xiao mood improved considerably. After Huzu had run a distance, she grabbed its ear and pulled it to a stop. Raw, the jade-eyed cloud-winged tiger let out a mournful cry. Xiao, what's wrong with you now? Yichu looked at her in confusion. Brother, where are we going? Are we just going to keep walking like this, even though Huzu had stopped? Xiaolan's hand still didn't let go of its ear. Xiaolan's words left Yichu stunned. Speaking of which direction was the ice and fire yin-yang well? Yichu had forgotten the description in the original book, only knowing that it was located inside the Sunset Forest. Looking around, the forest stretched endlessly. Where should he begin to search? Yichu's eyebrows furrowed. Yichu exhaled softly, his Sharingan activated, purple mist swirling between the 3 tomo. With his current spiritual power, his field of vision was extremely limited. 2,000 meters was his limit. His vision swiftly pierced through the trees in front of him, spreading into the distance. He saw people forming teams to hunt souls, others fleeing for their lives because of soul beasts. But there was no trace of the ice and fire yin-yang eye. While Yichu observed his surroundings, Xiaolan stared intently at him. Brother Yichu's eyes are so beautiful. She leaned closer, her face becoming increasingly infatuated. Yichu, focused on his surroundings, didn't notice Xiaolan's actions. He turned and peered around again, taking in the battles between people and the infighting among soul beasts. But he still couldn't see the ice and fire yin-yang eye. Yichu felt a little embarrassed. His X-ray vision could indeed see very far, but some of what he saw was quite inappropriate for children. He hadn't meant to. His eyes were bloodshot, and he was breathing heavily. The strain of fully activating his Sharingan was indeed immense, and his mental energy was severely depleted. Yichu suddenly felt a cool sensation on his cheek. He saw that Xiaolan had turned around and pressed herself against him, wrapping her arms around his waist and clinging to him once more. There was a few drops of drool at the corner of her mouth. Xiaolan? Yichu was annoyed, his face turning red with anger. However, after calling out, she didn't react, instead aiming for his mouth again. Pressing her forehead, Yichu noticed her abnormality. Her originally azure eyes had taken on a pinkish hue, giving them a somewhat alluring look. Brother Yichu so beautiful even with her head pressed down, she wouldn't stay still, wrapping her arms around his neck and moving closer to him. Seeing this familiar scene, Yichu realized it must be his eyes' fault. He shook his head helplessly and could only give Xiaolan another flick on the forehead. Ouch! Tears welled in her eyes as she blinked, squeezing out from the corners of her eyes. Ouch, that hurts. She lowered her head, rubbing her forehead, then angrily looked up again. Brother! Why did you hit Xiaolan again? Look what you've done. Yichu looked down at her, pointing to his cheek. Tiger didn't wash my face properly, but you washed it all over. Xiaolan didn't mean it, she muttered softly, head bowed in grievance. Okay, put your legs down first. Yichu rubbed her head, wiping away the tears from her eyes. Don't stare into my eyes next time. Why? They're so beautiful. Put your legs down first. Yichu raised his voice slightly, afraid he would look embarrassed. Okay brother, don't be angry. After she let go, Yichu stepped back a little, feeling a bit hot. Xiaolan gently straightened his slightly disheveled clothes. The brief farce came to an end. Although Yichu's investigation had yielded no results, he planned to wait a while before making any further moves. Chapter 63, Search Unsuccessful. Driving the tiger cub, Yichu ventured deeper into the forest. The further they went, the stronger the spirit beasts became, requiring Yichu to be even more cautious. In the days that followed, the jade-eyed cloud-winged tiger carried Yichu forward, stopping frequently to rest in the divine might space when tired and hunting wild game when hungry. Although Yichu's X-ray vision allowed them to avoid attacks beforehand, they still encountered spirit beasts. Fortunately, everything turned out alright. The sunset forest was simply too vast. Even with Yichu's Sharingan, a complete search was impossible. 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, as the setting sun cast its glow, Yichu continued his tireless search. Brother! Still haven't found it? Little Blue's sleepy again. Yichu, if you're sleepy, come back and rest for a while. I'll keep searching. No. I want to stay with you. Before she could finish, Yichu pulled her back into his body. Looking up at the sky, he knew that if things didn't work out, he would have to find another way. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. Searching for the ice and fire yin-yang well every day, Yichu was growing increasingly impatient. He'd spent so many days in Sunset Forest, searching for over 2 months, even neglecting his soul power cultivation. He was starting to doubt whether Douluo's poison array could evade his X-ray vision. At this moment, Yichu was using the flight ability of his 100,000-year-old blue-silver emperor right leg bone to survey the forest below. The ice and fire yin-yang well was such a massive structure, surrounded by mist, he refused to believe that even flying this high, he couldn't find a trace of it. Yichu was wrapped in a long black robe, and a black hat concealed his blue hair. Flying this high was too conspicuous. He wouldn't have resorted to this unless he had no other choice. Many people would surely see him, and Yichu dared not reveal his identity. 3 days. Yichu planned to search for 3 more days. If he still couldn't find it, he would activate Plan B. In the air, there were many flying spirit beasts attacking Yichu, but before Yichu's divine might, they were all insignificant. If they could even hide him, Yichu would consider himself a loser. Below, Xiaolan sat beside a campfire, with a jade-eyed cloud-winged tiger lying prostrate at her feet. Its tail was tied into a bow. Xiaolan was talking to it in a cryptic tone. "Tiger girl, you can't act cute in front of your brother. Otherwise, next time I'll burn your tail off." Her soft, sweet voice, though that of a little girl, chilled the tiger to the bone. She then grabbed a handful of fur from the tiger's forehead. Raw tears welled in the tiger's eyes as it let out a series of low growls. It had had enough of this little girl's torment these past few days. It had no way to express its suffering. In the distance, Yichu finished his search and slowly descended towards Xiaolan. He hurriedly untied the tiger's tail, raised his little fist at it, picked up the meat on the fire, and began to roast it. Toot! Yichu landed on his feet, and Huzi was about to rush over, but was startled back by Xiaolan's glance back. "Brother! How is it? Did you find it?" Huzi pounced over, grabbed Yichu's arm, and pulled him to the fire. Yichu sighed and shook his head. "Still no results. It's okay. Xiaolan will stay with you, brother." She stood obediently behind him, massaging his shoulders and back. Yichu didn't know when she had become so considerate. Perhaps she understood his fatigue during this time. "By the way, what happened to the jade-eyed cloud-winged tiger? The king character on its head seems to have faded quite a bit." Yichu saw Huzi lying on the ground, looking somewhat aggrieved. I don't know either." Xiaolan looked a little flustered. She quickly ran over and picked up the roasted meat she had just cooked. "Brother, look, Xiaolan made roasted meat for you." He looked at the golden brown roasted meat in her hand with surprise. It did look quite good. "I didn't expect you to have learned how to make roasted meat." He took the roasted meat she handed him, sniffed it, and then took a small bite. Little Blue wants to help her brother too. She looked at Yichu expectantly, her expression slowly freezing on her face. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Yichu's expression turned somewhat grim. He silently stuffed the roasted meat into the jade-eyed cloud-winged tiger's mouth. "Ah, tiger girl! You're not allowed to eat." Little Blue stomped her little foot, about to snatch the food from the tiger's mouth. Fortunately, Yichu stopped her. After taking a bite of the roasted meat, his voice changed slightly. "Forget it, Little Blue, you made it very well. Next time, don't make it. I'll roast it myself, HMPH. Next time, Little Blue will definitely do better." Yichu smiled wryly and slowly lay down on the ground. "Brother, what's wrong?" Little Blue squatted down and touched his forehead. "Nothing. Just a little tired." He rubbed his temples, feeling irritable from the 2 months he had been delayed. "Brother, is Little Blue useless?" Little Blue also leaned against Yichu, her body emitting a fragrant aroma. Second soul skill, blue-silver fragrance. Yichu took a deep breath, his fatigue lessening considerably. "No, that's not true. Aren't you helping me right now? Then, brother, will you abandon Xiaolan?" She looked earnestly into Yichu's eyes, completely unlike her usual obedient and adorable self. "How could I abandon you?" Yichu looked at her in confusion, not understanding why she would have such a thought. Then, in brother's heart, is Xiao Wu more important or Xiaolan? Yichu looked at the tearful Xiaolan in surprise. What was going on? Brother calls for Xiao Wu when he sleeps at night, but I've never heard him call for Xiaolan. Her little mouth slowly pursed, tears welling in her eyes. Yichu finally understood why Xiaolan had been so considerate lately. It was because she was afraid he would abandon her. "How could I abandon you? We've already established this kind of relationship. Even if you wanted to leave me, I wouldn't want to." He hugged Xiaolan, gently patting her back, his chin resting on her head, moving slowly. Putting aside feelings, just considering Xiaolan's current status as Yichu's second martial soul, Yichu wouldn't let her run away. "Then why don't you call my name when you sleep, brother, please? Aren't you right next to me? I'm with you every day, calling your name." It took Yichu a while to comfort her. He only sacrificed a little of his charm, getting a few kisses from Xiaolan. It has to be said, habit is a terrifying thing. After so long, Yichu was almost immune to Xiaolan's touch. "Xiaolan. Search for a few more days. If you still haven't found her, I'll take you to the 7 treasure glazed tile school, okay? Brother Kisahan, by the way, brother, have you ever called other people's names when you sleep?" "Yes. There's also Sister Zhu Qing, who watered Xiaolan's plants before." Xiaolan squinted her eyes, looking at Yichu with a half-smile. "Brother is really a womanizer." Yichu stammered, saying nothing, and told Xiaolan to stay where she was and be careful. Then he flew up again. Chapter 64 The Last Day. 2 days later, one morning, Yichu, still without any success, rested with Xiao Lan and Huzi in a mountain cave. Meanwhile, at the entrance to Sunset Forest, a group of elegantly dressed young men and women appeared. Leading them were 2 men and a woman, followed by about 6 or 7 others, all dressed in uniform, adorned with twinkling stars, and each wearing a small, colorful pagoda embroidered on their chest. Miss Rongrong. Should we go back? There's really nothing fun here. The young man speaking had a resolute face, wore a white robe with a small sword tattooed on the cuff, and looked to be about 14 or 15 years old. His name was Chen Feng, a descendant of Sword Douluo Chenzin, and his martial soul was a King Feng sword, a 3-ring battle soul venerable. Looking at the girl beside him, his expression was reluctant, and his eyes revealed worry. Yes, Miss Rongrong, let's go back. We can't afford to be held responsible if the sect leader pursues the matter, another young man beside the girl also urged. Douluo, dressed in black, was rather handsome and about the same age as Chen Feng. The younger generation of the Douluo clan possessed a bone dragon martial soul, but lacked special attributes. Their cultivation was roughly equal to Chen Feng's. Standing between the two of them was none other than Ning Rongrong, the little devil who had met Yichu once before. Dressed in a light blue pleated skirt, her still childish face was filled with ease and contentment. She occasionally glanced at the surrounding scenery, as if she were on a leisurely stroll in the Sunset Forest. What are you playing around for? I'm not here to play. I'm here to help fourth brother hunt for a soul. Ning Rongrong stood with her hands behind her back, head held high, scoffing at what Chen Feng and Douluo were saying. It's just to hunt a 100-year-old soul beast. What danger could there be? Could it be that you two have been lying to me all this time? Always saying how powerful you are, and now you're already backing down before even going in? Tch, she curled her lip in disdain, her words still as fierce and uncouth as ever. How could that be? Why would I lie to Miss Rongrong? I can take on 3 of those like Douluo. What's a mere 100-year-old soul beast, Chen Feng? You're talking nonsense. Someone like you can't even break through my defense. Ning Rongrong's taunts successfully ignited the competitive spirit of the 2 boys, while she watched them tear each other apart with great interest. Rongrong, can you watch your mouth? You're a girl. A boy standing in the middle of the back line sighed and rubbed his forehead in exasperation. He was Ning Rongrong's 4th brother, Ning Tian. Ning Fengzi had many sons but only one daughter, and his daughter was the most talented and was being groomed as his heir. As such, Ning Rongrong was naturally very much loved in the 7 treasure glazed tile school. I know, 4th brother. Why are you as long-winded as Dad? Ning Rongrong waved her hands impatiently. She finally had a chance to relax, and she didn't want to listen to those annoying lectures. Ning Tian opened his mouth, feeling helpless towards his unruly sister. He had just broken through to level 20 not long ago. Originally, he was going to ask the sect elders to help him hunt for a soul beast, but this little devil found out and took on the task herself, saying she would arrange everything. Unexpectedly, this is how she arranged it. She said there would be elders waiting outside, but she just tricked them out of the sect. Rongrong, I think we should go back. 4th brother's soul ring isn't in too much of a hurry. We can still turn back now. Ning Tian knew how important his father was to his sister. If anything happened to her, he would be devastated. Hey. I already said it's just a 100-year-old soul beast. We don't need to go deep inside. With Chen Feng and Douluo protecting me, I'll be fine. Ning Rongrong stamped her foot impatiently. Don't worry, if Dad comes after me, I'll take full responsibility. Hurry up and follow me, she shouted to Ning Tian and the others, hands on her hips, and then took the lead and walked inside. Miss Rongrong. X2 Chen Feng and Douluo called out, exchanged a glance, snorted, turned their heads away, and quickly followed. Rongrong. As a support-type soul master, you should stand in the middle of the team, Ning Tian shouted at her back. She was really too much of a worry. A bitter smile appeared on his lips, and he quickly followed with the others, hoping that he wouldn't be beaten to death by his father when he got back. In a secluded cave, Yichu is sitting cross-legged, meditating and recovering his depleted spiritual energy. Xiao Lan was lying on the ground, her head resting on Yichu's lap, serene, elegant, and cute. If it weren't for the drool at the corner of her mouth, she would be even more adorable. Yichu, who was sitting cross-legged, slowly opened his eyes. He finished meditating and looked at Xiao Lan, who was sleeping with her head on his lap. A smile appeared on his face, and he reached out to wipe the drool from the corner of her mouth. Touching her smooth lips, Xiaolan slowly opened her somewhat hazy eyes. "Brother," her voice was soft and sweet, still a little drowsy. "Since you're awake, get up." He gently patted the back of her head. "Okay. I know, brother, now more awake." Her voice became clear and melodious again. She smiled sweetly and reached out to hug Yichu's neck. "Hey. Wipe the drool off your mouth first." He propped her chin up with his hand, preventing her from getting any closer, his expression slightly disgusted. "Oh," she touched the corner of her mouth with her index finger. It was indeed a little wet. "Little Blue wants brother to wipe it for me." "Okay," Yichu readily agreed. She sat on Yichu's crossed lap, and hearing his agreement, her bright blue eyes gleamed with mischief as she tilted her head back, waiting for his move. Just as Yichu reached out, Little Blue reacted quickly, wrapping her arms around his neck and pulling him towards her, her face also leaning forward. A fleeting touch? Feeling the wetness on his lips, Yichu's eyes widened. "Xiaolan, what are you doing again?" Fortunately, he'd been subjected to countless sneak attacks like this over the past 2 months, and he was practically immune to Xiaolan's teasing. "HMPH. Who told you to complain about me?" Xiaolan had already covered her smooth forehead and jumped aside. She didn't want to get flicked in the head again. She hastily wiped the drool with her sleeve, then sniffed it, muttering, "It smells so good." Hee. Seeing Xiaolan's smugness, Yichu didn't say anything more. Since he couldn't change it, he'd just have to get used to it. He silently wiped away the drool and stood up. He called Tiger, who was guarding the cave entrance, over and put him into his divine might space. "Brother, are we leaving?" She ran over and took Yichu's hand. "Yes. Today is the last day. We'll search until tonight, then we'll return directly to Yongdao City through the divine might space." Yichu nodded. Searching here was just too much of a waste of time. He crouched down, pinching her cheeks. They were soft, smooth, and bouncy, irresistible. Little Blue simply cooperated, her eyes crinkling as she gazed at Yichu. "You'll stay inside me today, so I don't have to come back for you, okay? I'll do whatever you say, brother." Her voice trembled slightly as her cheeks were pinched, and tiny specks of light began to emanate from her body. Haha, looking at his adorable little sister, Yichu couldn't help but laugh, tenderly pulling her into his arms. The moment she leaned against him, she transformed into specks of light, merging into Yichu's body and taking root in his heart. Yichu stood up, stretched, and activated his right leg's soul bone, his figure slowly rising, flying towards the outside of the cave and into the sky. Chapter 65 Gale Wolf Pack. Above the sunset forest, a small black dot slowly rose. This time, Yichu disregarded the consumption of his soul power and flew very high, taking in most of the forest. However, he still couldn't find any trace of the ice and fire yin-yang well. Sigh, the fierce winds around him drowned out his sigh. His soul power had already been significantly depleted, so Yichu had to lower his altitude. Looking down at the various terrains below, he had some unusual guesses. Perhaps the reason he couldn't find the ice and fire yin-yang well wasn't because it was hidden by an array, or perhaps some unknown changes had occurred. "I'll search a little longer. If it doesn't work, I'll have to trouble Sect Master Ning to arrange my enrollment." Yichu's white-black robe fluttered in the wind. While scanning the area below, he pondered how to get Ning Feng's his help. Yichu's plan B involved a roundabout tactic. In short, he would first target the weakest link, enter the Heavendale Royal Academy, approach Du Yan, help her resolve the poison, do her a favor, and then, through her connections, contact that old poison master. It wouldn't be good to go directly to their door and cause an unpleasant scene. He figured that the eccentric poison Douluo, considering he had helped Du Yan and could heal her, should be someone he could reason with. The problem now was that the Heavendale Royal Academy only accepted nobles, and he needed the 7 treasure glazed tile schools' help to solve this problem. Should he use the silent sleeve arrow or those huge repeating crossbow blueprints? Yichu quickly dismissed the idea. Handing Tang San's things over to the 7 treasure glazed tile school now would be a trap. Which unlucky souls are going to be fed to the soul beasts again? Watching a group of soul beasts chasing their prey below, Yichu remained unmoved. He'd seen this kind of scene many times before. Just as he was about to look away, he was attracted by a glimmer of light. That color, his previously calm expression turned slightly surprised. The fleeing figures below were faintly glowing with 7-colored light. Could they be unlucky souls from the 7 treasure glazed tile school? Yichu hesitated for a moment, then flew down. Perhaps this was his chance to get the admission notice. In the Sunset Forest, a pack of gale wolves roamed and charged through the jungle. Even the weakest among them were 1,000-year-old soul beasts, and the Wolf King, their leader, possessed 20,000 years of cultivation. Despite the complex and rugged terrain, their speed remained incredibly fast, relentlessly closing in on the group ahead. A boy, in his panic, tripped over a rock and was instantly overwhelmed by the wolves. His piercing scream didn't last long before he fell silent. Zhang Sen, a fleeing boy, turned back, his legs trembling at the sight of the bloody and brutal scene. Among the group, the girl in the blue pleated skirt was in the worst state. Gone was her previous carefree self, her fair and delicate face was covered in mud, unable to conceal her pallor and fear, and tears even glistened in her eyes. Wrong. Don't just stand there. Run. Ningguang grabbed his younger sister's hand, and in his other hand, a 7-tiered, 7-colored pagoda appeared, its second soul ring pulsating. 7 treasures, first name, second, speed. 2 streaks of light shot out from the small tower, attaching themselves to the legs of the 2 people, significantly increasing their escape speed. These people were Ningguang and her companions, who had come here to hunt souls. Ningguang had successfully obtained his second soul ring, a 700-year-old gale wolf. Beside him, Chen Feng's face was grim. This time, it seems things won't end well, damn it. If Douluo's situation gets bad, cover for him with me later, he called out to Douluo on the other side, who nodded heavily. They could die, even Ningguang could. But Ningguang couldn't be harmed. Who could have imagined that hunting a 700-year-old soul beast would bring such a disaster? Why did this Wolf King's cub have to come out and cause trouble today? Ignoring the others, Chen Feng and Douluo closely followed Ningguang and his sister. Wrong. Ningguang's voice brought the somewhat dazed Ningguang back to her senses. Her voice was trembling with tears. 4th brother. What should we do? Why, am I going to die? Wrong. Don't worry, quickly crush the jade pendant Grandpa Bone gave you, he'll be here soon. Yes, I have the jade pendant Grandpa Bone gave me. Wiping away her tears, she had just taken the jade pendant from her soul tool when a loud voice made her tremble. Wu, the Gale Wolf King's bloodthirsty roar was the horn of charge. Thud. Dozens of gale wolves, their streamlined bodies rippling with fur, suddenly accelerated and surrounded the group, running around them continuously. The Wolf King stood on a large rock outside the circle, its vertical beastly eyes flashing with an eerie red light, a mangled piece of corpse dangling from its mouth. Gulp. That wouldn't be Zhang Sen, would it? Someone swallowed hard, a chill running down their spine. Bang. The Wolf King tossed the mangled corpse aside, splattering blood onto the crowd. The thick stench of blood made the atmosphere chilling. 4th brother, Ningguang cried out in despair, looking at the disfigured, mangled, and bloodied body that had crashed before her, and huddled inside. Don't be afraid. Ningguang was also extremely nervous. He snatched the jade pendant from Ningguang's hand and smashed it to pieces on the ground. This seemed like a signal. Wu, the Wolf King had also lost its patience. It wanted to tear this group of humans apart and avenge its short-lived cub. The wolf pack received the command and pounced on Ningguang and the others. With low cultivation and no experience of such a scene, they were no match for the Wolf King and were scattered in an instant. Howls, screams, biting sounds, and cries filled the air. Douluo. Protect Miss Rongrong together, understood? This time, Douluo and the other wolf didn't argue. A 3-foot-long sword appeared in Chen Feng's hand. 3 spirit rings, yellow, and purple, pulsed around his body. Douluo was clad in something resembling bone armor, indicating he had already undergone spirit possession. Douluo said to Ningguang behind him, "Young Master Ningguang, thank you for your trouble." Ningguang understood, and 4 streams of light appeared from the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda in his hand, entering Chen Feng and Douluo's bodies. 7 treasures have names. First, soul, second, speed, following him was a voice choked with sobs. 7 treasures have names. First, strength, second, speed, it was Ningguang. Looking around helplessly, this was the last thing she could do. First spirit skill, sharp blade unsheathed. Third spirit skill. Sweeping through 1,000 armies, Chen Feng stood with his sword horizontally, the blade shimmering with azure light, becoming incomparably sharp, and slashed horizontally at the Gale demon wolf that pounced on Ningguang and his sister. After a mournful howl, the first outstretched paw fell to the ground, followed by decapitation. Warm blood sprayed onto his resolute face, staining the ground red. Douluo also went all out, his purple soul rings shining brightly. Third soul skill, snowy white bones. From the ground beneath the attacking giant wolf, eerie white bone spikes pierced through, instantly turning the wolf into a beehive. However, human strength has its limits, the two of them alone could not handle so many soul beasts. The exclamations behind them made them turn around. Fourth brother, wrong. Be careful, the wolf king in the distance suddenly unleashed the wind blade at Ningtian. A giant wolf had also approached Ningguang, its gaping maw whipping her hair. In the sky, a black dot was also growing larger, plummeting rapidly. Chapter 66 Clearing a wave of minions. To conserve his soul power, Yichu opted for freefall, falling quite a distance before finally seeing them clearly. I didn't expect there really were from the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Why would Ningguang be in a place like this? This is bad. Xiao Lan, the wind drowned out his voice, but she still heard him clearly. Xiao Lan is here, a clear voice rang in Yichu's ears. A surge of warmth welled up in his heart, and a blue gold light ball floated up, transforming into a human-shaped pendant that clung to Yichu. Their minds were in sync. Without saying a word, Yichu simply flung Xiao Lan down. Miss Rongrong, seeing the situation behind them, Douluo and the other two were utterly astonished. Bang! Chen Feng, caught off guard, was swatted away by a giant wolf. Douluo tried to intervene, but it was too late. It was too late. The Wolf King's wind blade swept through the air, leaving a white trail, determined to sever Ningguang's head. Suddenly, Ningguang's eyes widened in shock. An invisible vortex appeared before him, the wind blade vanishing in an instant. Ningguang tightly closed her eyes, the sharp fangs of the Gale wolf about to pierce her skin. Whoosh! 2 figures, one black and one blue, streaked across the sky. Boom! Boom! 2 loud explosions suddenly erupted from within and outside the encirclement. Dust filled the air, and the wolf pack scattered. From within the dust, the Gale wolf let out a fearful whimper. Ah, Miss Rongrong! Chen Feng clutched his chest, looking anxiously in Ningguang's direction. Hot blood gushed out, splattering onto Ningguang's face, causing her to scream in terror. As the dust settled, a young man in black robes stood atop a Gale wolf, its head already shattered. The newcomer was none other than Yichu, who had descended from the sky. Ningguang's face and body were covered in blood, her previous cleanliness gone. She stood there blankly, her lifeless eyes staring ahead. Miss Ning. Long time no see, he waved his hand in front of her, but there was no reaction. Her legs trembled, and tears streamed from her eyes. She looked quite frightened, and she almost collapsed, but fortunately Yichu caught her in time. Ningguang, standing beside her, kept touching himself, as if he couldn't believe it. I'm alright, I'm not dead, that's great. Young Master Ningguang and Miss Rongrong are both alright, Douluo breathed a sigh of relief. Although he didn't know who the person was, since they knew Miss Rongrong and had come to her rescue, they were definitely not enemies. Douluo was about to quickly escort them to their side. Ow! The Wolf King let out another fierce howl, and the wolf pack reorganized, surging towards Yichu and the remaining few people. Be careful, Chen Feng, who was behind Douluo, gripped his sword tightly, reminding Yichu. Little Blue, understood, brother. With Yichu's command, several blue silver grasses burst in from outside the encirclement, wrapping around everyone's waists. No one should resist. Hearing Yichu's voice, Chen Feng sheathed the gleaming edge of his sword. Chen Feng stared in shock at the blue-silver grass wrapped around him. His injuries are healing rapidly. Swoosh! As everyone was pulled out of the circle, life force continuously surged into their bodies from the blue-silver grasses. Sizzle! Ningguang, who had been under the special attention of the Gale Wolf King, had his blue-silver grass suddenly severed by the Wolf King. Fortunately, Yichu is still nearby, grabbing him by the collar and throwing him away. He screamed in midair. Luckily, Douluo caught him, otherwise he might have been disfigured. Looking at Ningguang, who was still in a daze, Yichu put his arm around her waist to prevent her from macing things up. Hold me tight, Ningguang remained unmoved. Hold on tight, Yichu raised his voice, and she finally hugged him with a numb expression. As soon as she got close to him, Ningrongrong smelled a pleasant fragrance that even masked the original stench of blood. Her eyes regained some of their liveliness, and her complexion improved considerably. She unconsciously moved closer, leaning against Yichu's chest, finally feeling a sense of security. Yichu had already quietly activated the Blue-Silver Emperor's second soul skill, Blue-Silver Fragrance. Whoosh! No sooner had Yichu left than a gale wolf pounced on his spot. After pulling everyone away, Xiaolan led the group away. The wolf pack was too numerous for Yichu to protect. As for the divine light space, that wasn't something everyone knew about. In short, the best of the 36 stratagems was to flee. From Yichu's descent to Xiaolan's escape, only a few seconds had passed. The wolves, having recovered, still relentlessly pursued, and the Wolf King, unable to restrain himself any longer, left the pack far behind. During the run, Yichu pushed Ningrongrong next to Ningdian, grabbed Xiaolan's hand, and ran ahead. Now, besides Ningdian and his group of 4, only 3 people from the 7 treasure-glazed tile skull remained. Don't be afraid, everyone. Elder Gu will come to save us soon, Ningdian encouraged the others as he ran. Ah! A cry of pain came from beside Ningtian. Ningrongrong, in a daze, didn't even look where she was going and tripped over a pebble. Sister, Ningtian turned around to help her, but Yichu stopped him. Don't stop, I'll go, Yichu told them to go first. If it was just Ningrongrong, he could hide in the divine might space if necessary. Brother! Be careful, don't worry, Yichu winked at Xiaolan. If he couldn't beat them, he could run away, right? Turning back, facing the direction of the wolf pack, he was going to rescue Ningrongrong. Chenfeng. What about us? Douluo, who was running, looked at Chenfeng. They couldn't just leave Ningrongrong here like this. We'll go with you, the two paused, following Yichu's retreating figure. Yichu glanced at them, frowned, and said nothing more. He quickly approached using the ghostly shadow steps. Third soul skill, sweeping through 1,000 armies. Second soul skill, Bone Dragon's Might. The dragon's might emanating from Douluo's second soul skill caused the Wolf King, who was pouncing on Ningrongrong, to momentarily lose its focus. Chenfeng's sword energy swept across, leaving a bloody gash on the Wolf King's cheek. Mysterious Jade Hand. Yichu delivered a finishing blow. Bang! He punched a giant wolf away, then scooped Ningrongrong into his arms. Miss Ning, you really are. Her behavior left Yichu speechless. I'm so sorry, sob. Ningrongrong's dirty face was covered in blood and tears. Her feet hurt so much. Daddy, Grandpa Bone, Grandpa Sword, come quick. By this time, it was too late for Yichu and his companions to leave. The wolves trailing behind had already surrounded them. The Wolf King, with 20,000 years of cultivation, had personally entered the fray, staring intently at Yichu, its wounds fueling its ferocity. It took off running towards Yichu. Taking a breath, the 3 tomo in its eyes disappeared into its pupils, and when they opened again, they resembled a 6-pointed star. You guys be careful, Yichu instructed Douluo and the other 2. As he finished speaking, his bloodshot right eye looked at the Wolf King, blood streaming from its depths. Boom, a ball of black flame suddenly appeared, and Amaterasu missed its target for the first time. The Wolf King had actually dodged Amaterasu with its wild instincts. Oh, even though it had dodged, Yichu didn't stop. He turned his head and stared intently at it. The Wolf King continued its skillful maneuvering on the field, and before Yichu knew it, he had cleared a wave of minions. Ugh, painful whimpers echoed endlessly. Many of the giant wolves in the wolf pack behind the Wolf King were engulfed in black flames. They writhed on the ground in agony, but Amaterasu wouldn't extinguish until its target was completely burned. Only death awaited them. Chapter 67. A towering white jade pillar, a purple gold beam spanning the sea. Huff, huff, Yichu was panting heavily, his right eye blurring. He abruptly closed it, his face contorted in pain. Blood streamed down his cheek, dripping from his chin into Ningrongrong's hand. Are you alright? Ningrongrong looked at his grotesque appearance, filled with fear and worry. Ow! The mournful howl of the Gale Wolf King echoed throughout the area. Several giant wolves had vanished without a trace, leaving only a purple soul ring floating in the void. Gulp, X2 what terrifying soul skills. Chenfeng and Douluo stared in shock at the eye-catching soul rings. Who would have thought that this young man, only about their age, could achieve such a feat? Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, The Wolf King transformed into a white lightning bolt, piercing the air and arriving in an instant. In that brief moment, Chen Feng and Douluo reacted in time. Yichu was already too late to escape. Not good. Douluo, attack together, Chen Feng said, lowering his center of gravity and mobilizing all his soul power, frantically pouring it into the 3-foot-long King Fang sword in his hand, its sharp light leaping. First and second soul skills, blade unsheathed. Heavy sword, heavy momentum, 7-kill sword technique. The sword in his hand danced wildly, unstoppable, sword energy bursting forth. Douluo was not to be outdone. He flashed in front of Yichu. First and third soul skills. Bone dragon armor. Pure white bones, a pale white bone armor emerged from his body, the thick white bones surrounding him and Yichu like a cage, ready to face the Gale Wolf King. In Yichu's arms, Ningrongrong also gritted her teeth. 7 treasures are famous. First is strength. Second is speed. 2 points of light of different colors entered Chen Feng's body. The science sword energy was like a raging torrent. It was determined to overwhelm the Gale Wolf King. However, they were facing a 10,000-year-old soul beast and a pack of wolves. Tigers fear wolves. They understand the importance of cooperation and unity, and would never act alone. Roar, the Wolf King's howl was answered. Not good. Chen Feng's eyes narrowed. It was too late to change the momentum of his sword. A giant wolf blocked the Gale Demon Wolf King's path. Even though it was mangled and exhausted, its momentum didn't diminish as it charged towards Chen Feng. Thud, the impact to his chest sent Chen Feng spitting out blood as he flew backward. The giant wolf staggered a couple of times and collapsed. Douluo's expression was grave. Sigh. I should have known better than to let those two come along. Glancing at Chen Feng, whose chest was caved in, Yichu continuously activated his blue-silver emperor right leg bone to recover his strength. His soul power was already depleted from the long flight. Yichu knew very well that Douluo couldn't withstand it. The Wolf King was too fast. Yichu couldn't even focus his eyes in time. Missing, quickly enhance me, Good. 7 treasures is famous, whoosh. From the Wolf King's arrow-like attack to reaching the bone defense line, only a few breaths passed. First, strength, bang. Douluo's bone defense, constructed using his third soul skill, instantly crumbled into dust. Second, speed, bang. Douluo's chest armor shattered, flying over Yichu's head and scattering a patch of crimson blood. The Gale Wolf King was already close to Yichu, and Ningrongrong closed her eyes. Just right, Yichu shouted sharply. The 6-pointed star in his eyes radiating blood-red light. Bang! After the explosion, a huge white figure flew backward in the dust, crashing heavily to the ground. The Gale Wolf King, its head bleeding profusely, rolled on the ground. One of its eyes seemed to have been struck by a heavy blow, bursting open, the shattered eyeball still hanging from the corner of its eye. As the dust settled, Yichu knelt on the ground, the intense pain in his eyes and body unbearable. Using his Susanoo, still only at the first stage, to withstand the Gale Wolf King's 20,000 years of cultivation was still somewhat of a strain. Ningrongrong stared in shock at the blood-red armor-like thing that enveloped her and Yichu. Like human ribs, a thick arm skeleton extended from behind, blocking Yichu's path. Gurgle. Yichu, what is this, missing? This isn't the time for this. It's coming again, Awu, the Wolf King howled, the pack of wolves stirred, and surged forward. Yichu, forcing himself to maintain his Susanoo, hesitated whether to abandon Chen Feng and Douluo and enter the divine might space. Two immense auras suddenly descended from the sky, pressing down. Beasts! You're courting death, a cold, hoarse voice, carrying immense authority, shook the very soul. The wolf pack, as if terrified and facing a fatal threat, halted their charge, becoming agitated and retreating in the direction they had come from. It's Daddy, Grandpa Sword, and Grandpa Bone, Ningrongrong's joyful voice rang out, tears welling in her eyes, truly tears of joy. Have they finally arrived? Yichu relaxed, the blood-red Susanoo dissipating, and slowly looked up. A dark opening in the sky slowly closed. 3 people stood in the air. Yichu had seen 2 of them standing on the same sword at the heavenly Dao auction house, Ning Fengzi, gentle and refined, like a spring breeze, and Sword Douluo Chenzin, with sword-like eyes, silver hair, and a body as upright as a sword. And the last one, a figure dressed in black. Strands of white hair covered his head, his face was somewhat withered, and his figure was exceptionally tall, not because of his muscular build, but because of his broad frame. This must be Gurong, one of the pillars of the heavens, beams of the seas of the 7 treasure-glazed tile school, known as the strongest defensive warrior. Unexpectedly, to save Ningrong, this little devil, the 7 treasure-glazed tile school had mobilized its entire high-level fighting force. Even the usual rule of leaving a titled Douluo to guard the sect had been temporarily abandoned. Still trying to run, Sword Douluo brought his index and middle fingers together and swung them down at the scattered wolf pack. A rain of swords covered the sky above the wolves, turning them into a beehive. In the hands of a titled Douluo, the wolves were nothing more than large ants. 3 streams of 7-colored light descended from the sky, landing on Yichu, Chen Feng, and Gurong, healing their injuries. The 3 landed in the air. Ning Fengzi, holding a cane in one hand and the 7 treasure-glazed tile pagoda in the other, glanced at the purple soul rings floating around him. Then he glared at Ningrong. "Daddy. Grandpa Sword, Grandpa Bone. You've finally come." Why, this time, the pampered little princess was truly frightened. Leaving Yichu's arms, she rushed straight to Ning Fengzi. "HMPH. You really went too far this time." Seeing her, Ning Fengzi was furious. "Fengzi. What are you saying?" Gurong glared at Ning Fengzi, half squatting down and taking Ningrong's little hand. "Rongrong, come here, let Grandpa Bone see if you're injured." Sword Douluo looked curiously at Yichu, who was sitting cross-legged. "Uncle Bone, you'll only cause the deaths of our disciples. How am I supposed to explain this to their families?" she retorted to Bone Douluo, then looked at Ningrong with a hint of disappointment. "What? I'm sorry. I didn't want this to happen," Ningrong said, tears streaming down her face. Sword Douluo, standing to the side, couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. All right. We'll talk about this when we get back, brother." From afar, Xiaolan's anxious voice came. Ning Fengzi and the others looked over. Behind Xiaolan, Ningyan and the others ran quickly towards them. "It really is the sect master and the 2 elders. We're saved." The remaining disciples collapsed to the ground. Father, Ningyan's voice was low, not daring to look up at Ning Fengzi. "HMPH. I'll settle the score with you when we get back." Chapter 68. 7 Treasure-Glazed Tile School. Ningyan stood there, head drooping, unable to express his suffering. All right. Stop looking so long-faced. What are you standing there for? Aren't you going to save them?" Ning Fengzi waved his hand, knowing his little devil's ability to cause trouble, but Ningyan still had an inescapable responsibility. "Understood, Father," Ningyan replied respectfully, leading the remaining disciples to help Chen Feng and Guluo to their feet. "Brother," Xiaolan ran to Yichu's side. She sat cross-legged behind him, 2 spirit rings rising beneath her. Her hands glowed with the green light, pressing against Yichu's back to help him heal. Domain activated. On the ground, the blue-silver grass became active, emitting starlight that seeped into Yichu's body. Sword Douluo, who had been keeping an eye on Yichu, frowned. "This is a domain?" Chen Zin's pupils dilated, staring at Yichu and Guluo in shock. "Uncle Sword? Are you sure?" Ning Fengzi was also somewhat surprised. How could someone so young possess a domain power that only a titled Douluo could control? There's no mistake, Sword Douluo himself possessed the 7-kill domain, so he was very familiar with this kind of power. Also, that kid seemed to be using a martial soul true body just now. Just as the Gale Wolf King rushed in front of Yichu, the 3 of them arrived, and Yichu's every move was witnessed by them. Martial soul true body. Ningrong's eyelashes, still wet with tears, trembled slightly as she looked at Yichu's blue eyes with curiosity. "Sword Man, is this the kid you told me about last time? He's definitely extraordinary." Gurong also stroked his chin, scrutinizing the 2 of them. He always felt that there was a power about Yichu that felt familiar to him. More than extraordinary. He's practically a monster. Ning Fengzi smiled wryly. He had underestimated this brother and sister. Both were monsters. One, with the cultivation of a great soul master, could use a martial soul true body, and the other possessed a formidable domain. "Dad, thanks to Yichu this time, otherwise you might not have seen me and 4th brother again." Ningrong tugged at Ning Fengzi's sleeve, recounting the dangers of their journey. "Huh?" Ning Fengzi, who had been listening to Ningrong, exclaimed in surprise. "Dad, what's wrong? Isn't that little girl growing a bit too fast?" He noticed Xiaolan's unusual behavior. It seemed so she was so small before, Ning Rongrong rubbed her teary eyes, taking a closer look. On the other side, Ning Bian had already lifted Chen Feng and Douluo onto stretchers. Their ribs were broken, and their internal organs were trembling. They wouldn't recover quickly. Yi Jiu finished his cultivation, opened his eyes, and saw Xiao Lan's anxious expression. "Ah! Brother, are you alright?" She instantly threw herself into his arms. "It's nothing serious." He patted her hair. With Xiao Lan and Ning Fengzi's help, he felt much better. Ning Fengzi and the others were already standing in front of him. "Brother Yi Jiu, we meet again." Ning Fengzi's smile was as gentle as ever. "Sect Master Ning, seniors." Yi Jiu quickly stood up and bowed. Xiao Lan followed suit. "Haha. The little girl is still so interesting." Hearing Ning Fengzi's words, Ning Rongrong nodded in agreement. She was itching to help. "Yi Jiu, thank you for saving me, otherwise I would have lost my beloved daughter. How about coming to my 7 treasure glazed tile sect to recuperate for a while?" Yes. Little sister, my family really has a lot of delicious food." Ning Fengzi extended an invitation to Yi Jiu, and Ning Rongrong chimed in, her dirty little face carrying an enticing expression, looking somewhat incongruous. Behind them, Ning Bian felt a pang of sadness. "Dad, you almost lost your beloved son." "What? My son has no rights," Yi Jiu readily agreed. "Sect leader Ning, you flatter me. I originally intended to bring Xiao Lan to bother you, but we just happened to run into them." "Oh? That's quite a coincidence. In that case, let's set off immediately." Seeing Yi Jiu nod, Ning Fengzi gestured to Douluo. Douluo nodded, extending his finger to the void. Ripples spread through the space, expanding from the center to form a dark hole. Seeing this, Yi Jiu couldn't help but compare it to his own divine might. He could only say that Douluo's special abilities were too limited, rarely used in battle. He felt a pang of regret. Weren't the soul skills in Douluo continent also restricting soul masters' development of their martial souls? "Brother! Look!" Xiao Lan was about to speak when Yi Jiu's gaze stopped him. Unfortunately, Douluo had already noticed him. "Kid, you're quite wary, aren't you? Looks like my previous perception was right. Your martial soul also possesses special attributes." "Oh?" Ning Fengzi and the others looked at Yi Jiu in surprise. Lucky. He scratched his head awkwardly and glared at Xiao Lan. Her face responded to him. "Uncle Gu, let's go." "Okay." Without saying anything more, Ning Fengzi already had the idea of winning Yi Jiu over. Looking at his sister who was staring intently at Yi Jiu, his mind started working. The group crossed a black hole. The scenery in front of them changed instantly, and their senses couldn't keep up. Their heads felt dizzy for a moment. The sun scattered, reflecting dazzling light. "Wow! Brother, this place is so beautiful." Xiao Lan jumped excitedly, her eyes unable to take it all in. "Of course. Little one, let your sister hug you." Ning Rongrong's mood had improved a lot after being comforted by the others. "I don't want to. You're so dirty and smelly." Xiao Lan avoided her movements, pinching her nose in disgust and fanning herself with her hand. You're talking nonsense." Ning Rongrong stood there, sniffing her own body, her face somewhat embarrassed. Having rolled on the ground, her clothes were mixed with human and wolf blood. The smell was unimaginable. Noticing Yi Jiu's gaze, she felt even more ashamed and angry, her face flushing red as she angrily chased after Xiao Lan. Little girl. You stop right there." Watching Xiao Lan frolicking among the flowers, Yi Jiu smiled helplessly and looked around. It was indeed very beautiful and magnificent. Most of the sect's buildings were tower-shaped. The tallest tower in the center was built directly in the style of the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda, with green as the overall tone, conveying a sense of fusion between support-type soul masters and natural elements. It also incorporates the design elements of hexagonal eaves from traditional Chinese architecture, with the spire reaching straight into the clouds, symbolizing its unshakable authority on the Douluo continent. The surrounding area is filled with exotic flowers and rare herbs, showcasing the sect's wealth and profound heritage to the fullest. "Yi Jiu, I've already arranged accommodations. Go and wash up first, and I'll prepare a proper welcome feast for you later." "Yes, thank you, Sect Leader Ning, it's no trouble at all." "You are wrong saviors." After a few more words of entreaty, Yi Jiu pulled Xiao Lan, whose face had been pinched red by Ning Rongrong, away. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69, A Table of Fine Wine. Yichu, pulling Xiaolan along, followed the waiters arranged by Ning Fengzi. Brother Xiaolan's face hurts, serves you right. Who told you to be so greedy? Ignoring her complaints, Yichu had seen perfectly well how Ning Rongrong caught her. Upon arriving at their lodgings, Yichu told Xiaolan to go play somewhere while he took a good shower. When he came out, Xiaolan was in the flower bed in the courtyard, attracting bees and butterflies, playing with the flowers and plants, completely carefree. As soon as it was time to eat, someone came to lead the way. The hall was resplendent, the walls and ceiling adorned with dazzling glasswork. In the center stood a large table laden with all sorts of delicacies. Wines, juices, creatures from the water, the land, and the sky, a wide variety, everything imaginable. Even the same ingredient can be prepared in different ways, with one dish eaten 9 times. Looking at the long, wide table, Yichu's lips twitched. It was incredibly extravagant. There were more than 100 dishes. Even with his long arms, he couldn't possibly reach all of them. Wow! So much delicious food. Xiaolan's eyes lit up. She broke free from Yichu's hand and ran over quickly. How about it? This is a feast I specially asked my dad to prepare. Ning Rongrong ran over, took Xiaolan's hand, and made her sit next to her, her eyes constantly glancing at Yichu. Ning Fengzi, Douluo, and Ning Bian were also seated. Yichu sat down next to Xiaolan, grabbing her restless hands. Ning Rongrong's eyes also held a hint of inexplicable joy. Brother Yichu, thank you for saving my life. Ning Bian stood up and bowed to him. Yichu waved his hands repeatedly. No need for that, you've thanked me many times already. Compared to him, Ning Rongrong seemed much more reserved. After her grooming, she was indeed very beautiful. Her long brown hair was loose, and she wore a green dress, exuding a gentle and noble temperament. Her fair face was flushed with color. She was about to bow to Yichu when he stopped her. Miss Ning, there's no need for that, haha. Yichu, don't feel uncomfortable. It's only right to thank them. Once Guluo and Shenfeng are healed, I'll have them come over in person, no need, Sect Master Ning. This table full of delicacies is already quite formal. Yichu quickly declined, feeling a little uncomfortable with such a grand gesture. Brother, can you let go of Xiaolan's hand? When can we start eating? Hearing their polite words, Xiaolan looked at the food in front of her, her mouth practically watering. Ning Rongrong covered her mouth and chuckled. Haha, the little girl can't wait, so let's begin. Ning Fengzi laughed loudly, clapping his hands twice. Several maids stood behind them and placed the tableware in front of everyone. As soon as Yichu released Xiaolan's hands, she couldn't hold back any longer, her hunger and thirst becoming even more intense. Without even using utensils, her little mouth was immediately stuffed full. Yichu sighed helplessly, letting her be, and chatted with Ning Fengzi and the others while eating. During this time, Yichu didn't see Ning Fengzi's other sons. They were probably out managing the sect's businesses. After all, the family was large and powerful. Little one, this, and this. They're all delicious. Ning Rongrong kept putting food on Xiaolan's plate. A maid brought over dishes from further away to replace the empty plates in front of her. While having her cheeks pinched, Xiaolan, who was eating and drinking voraciously, pouted. She was a little unhappy. Gulp, swallowing what was in her mouth, she pouted, you're the little one. You were crying earlier, what nonsense are you talking about? Ning Rongrong's face turned red, she gritted her teeth, and looked at the maids with an ugly expression. Everywhere they looked, they all lowered their heads, indicating they hadn't heard anything. They couldn't withstand the little witch's antics. I told you not to talk nonsense. Having her secret exposed again, Ning Rongrong was furious and took all the delicacies away from Xiaolan. Ah, that's mine. Xiaolan wants to eat, I won't give you any. Ah, Sister Rongrong, sister, you're the prettiest. Smack. Finally, after leaving Ning Rongrong's face covered in oil, she was able to slay again. Covering his face, Yichu blushed for Xiaolan. Ning Fengzi and the others watched the two children playing with great interest. Yichu, by the way, are you really only level 23? Douluo looked at him curiously. My soul power level is indeed only at the Great Soul Master level, Yichu truthfully replied. With your talent, you shouldn't only be a Great Soul Master at this age, right? Douluo tugged at his sparse hair. Someone at this level who could use a martial soul true body must have top-tier talent. Yichu was about to explain when Xiao Lan, who had just finished burping, interrupted. Brother is actually only a teenager. Yichu glanced speechlessly at Xiao Lan's oily face. What? You're about the same age as Rongrong. Ning Fengzi and the others looked him up and down. You don't look like it, ahem. Well, I've developed a bit faster. Yichu scratched his head awkwardly, and that was the only explanation he could offer. He picked up a pastry, smiled, and stuffed it into Xiao Lan's mouth. Ning Fengzi, on the other hand, thought of Xiao Lan. The little girl seemed to have grown up a bit faster too. He understood that Yichu didn't want to say more. I see, everyone has secrets, and he didn't want to delve into it, so he stopped the topic. However, his desire to win Yichu over grew stronger. Ning Rongrong was also deeply surprised. This guy is actually about the same age as me. Staring intently at his profile through Xiao Lan, she was momentarily lost in thought. Why are you staring at your brother? Xiao Lan's voice drew everyone's attention. Yichu turned around and met Ning Rongrong's gaze. Looking into those deep blue eyes, Ning Rongrong's eyes darted away. Sensing the strange looks around her, she quickly lowered her head. What nonsense are you talking about? She glared at Xiao Lan, took a large gulp of the red fruit wine beside her, and the red seemed to transfer to her face, spreading a blush. Yichu looked at them strangely. What's this? Xiao Lan wants some too. He reached out and took the wine from Ning Rongrong's hand. Ah! Brother, she received a light tap on the forehead. Children shouldn't drink alcohol. Yichu frowned and returned the cup to Ning Rongrong. Okay, she covered her head, but her eyes were fixed on what Ning Rongrong held, eager to try it. Sect leader Ning, I have a favor to ask. Time passed quickly. After the meal, Ning Rongrong wanted to play with Xiao Lan. But Ning Fengzi stopped her and said something to her. Ning Rongrong looked sad and regretful. Ning Duan looked similar. Yichu guessed that he was probably going to take them to visit the families of the deceased disciples. This kind of thing needed to be addressed. After all, she would be taking over the sect in the future. Chapter 70. You hate me? Ning Fengzi readily agreed to Yichu's request for help, promising to arrange for Yichu to enroll in school soon. When they returned to the small courtyard Ning Fengzi had arranged for the siblings, Yichu carried Xiao Lan in a princess carry. She was already so full she could barely move, and carrying her on his back would be uncomfortable, as it pressed against her stomach. If you eat this much again next time, I won't take care of you. Just as he finished speaking, Yichu suddenly felt a surge of soul power in his heart, and his level instantly broke through to level 24. His reproachful expression froze. Brother? What did you just say? Xiao Lan looked at him teasingly and triumphantly. I meant, you can eat more next time. Yichu chuckled sheepishly, his face burning. Having tasted the sweetness, he suddenly realized he had been too loud. No, Xiao Lan feels so uncomfortable. He patted his round belly and couldn't help but let out a burp. She wrapped her arms around Yichu's neck and whispered in his ear, now Xiao Lan and brother are at the same level. Brother, you'd better work harder, otherwise Xiao Lan will stay stuck forever. I know. Being lectured by his younger sister felt somewhat strange. Smack! A slightly oily kiss landed on Yichu's cheek. Xiao Lan giggled. This is to cheer brother on. This is real encouragement. He glared at her helplessly. In the evening, Ning Rongrong's eyes were a little red and swollen, as if she had just been crying. Miss Ning, are you alright? Did you come to see Xiao Lan? Hearing Yichu's voice, which she hadn't thought much of before, now sounded extremely harsh. Thinking of the vicious words from those people before, she felt saddened. Do you hate me too, huh? Yichu didn't understand why she asked that, but he knew the answer to this question. How could I? You're lying to me. Ning Rongrong stepped forward and grabbed his collar, looking up at him with wide, angry eyes. If you don't hate me, why did you ignore me so many times before? And why did you keep calling me Miss Ning? Miss Ning? Yichu touched his nose, feeling a little embarrassed to be called out like that. So, do you also think I'm just a troublemaker, unruly, rude, clueless, and vicious? Besides being Miss Ning, I'm good for nothing. She rattled off a string of words. The more she spoke, the more she cried. Yichu had no idea what she had gone through when she went to apologize. Answer me. Why? She tugged at Yichu's clothes, her fists raining down on his chest. Looking at the somewhat out of control Ning Rongrong, Yichu was at his wit's end. Big sister. How am I supposed to answer you like this? He didn't let her run wild anymore. 3 Tomo appeared in his eyes, hypnotizing her into a daze. Brother, why is it so noisy? Little Lan walked out sleepily, rubbing her eyes, letting out a surprised and confused sound. Huh? What's wrong with sister? Wrong. Yichu couldn't help but glare at her. Had their relationship gotten this bad in just one meal? She kept calling him sister, nothing, she'll be fine after a nap. Yichu picked up Ningrongrong and put her in her room. In the distance, on the spire of the tower, stood 2 figures. Feng Sli, are you sure you're okay with this, Uncle Jian? Let's just consider this a lesson for her. She really needs to change her personality. I'll handle the disciples and their families. What are you planning to do with that kid, Yichu? Make it a big deal. Such a genius is worth winning over, especially since these 2 siblings are both prodigies. Ning Fengzi smiled. Buy 1, get 1 free, definitely a good deal. By the way, about a matter Yichu asked me to help with, I plan to introduce him to King. I think young people will have more to talk about. What about wrong? Sword Douluo wasn't very knowledgeable about these things, he was more concerned about his little princess. He hadn't missed the fact that she had feelings for Yichu. Let wrong situation take its course. My 7 treasure glazed tile school's little princess isn't worried about finding a husband. Though he said this, Ning Fengzi secretly shook his head. If she doesn't change her temperament, things won't be easy. After entrusting Ningrongrong to Xiaolan's care, Yichu sat cross-legged on the bed, cultivating. He didn't even know when she woke up or left the courtyard. He didn't know how Xiaolan comforted her. When she left, apart from some redness in her eyes, she wasn't so heartbroken anymore. Her steps were even lighter. Outside, moonlight streamed down, adding a touch of softness to the flower beds in the courtyard. Xiaolan, standing by the window outside, secretly watched Yichu. Seeing him still immersed in cultivation, she breathed a sigh of relief. Then, turning back every few steps, she walked towards the courtyard gate, tiptoeing and sneaking her head out. As if she had found something, her eyes lit up, and she waved outside, trying to keep her voice as soft as possible, afraid of disturbing others. Sister Rongrong over here, Xiaolan, SHH, Ningrongrong walked over, but was interrupted by Xiaolan's index finger as soon as she started to speak. Sister Rongrong, did you bring the things? Giving her a strange look, Ningrongrong had no choice but to follow suit and whisper softly in her ear. I brought them, but what are you doing? Brother won't let me drink. Let's be careful, don't let him find out. I don't want brother to be angry. After saying that, Xiaolan tiptoed and led Ningrongrong into her room. Little Lan, one more, up, Sister Rongrong, cheers. The sound of glass clinking came from inside. After a while, Ningrongrong's scream and the sound of porcelain shattering came from Xiaolan's room. Ah! Xiaolan put it down quickly, crash. Xiaolan, let me go. Ah! Yichu, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed, twitched his ears, as if he heard someone's cry for help. So he got up and looked for the source of the sound. Brother Xiaolan. Let me go, I'm not Yichu. Yichu, standing outside the door, listened to the voices coming from inside, his face showing a strange expression crack. As soon as he opened the door, Yichu frowned, a strong smell of alcohol hitting his nose. 2 wine glasses were on the table, and shards of a broken wine bottle lay on the floor. Looking closer, Yichu's brow furrowed, and several black lines appeared on his forehead. On the bed, Xiaolan's face was burning hot, her fair skin flushed red, her hair disheveled, her eyes half closed, and she was delirious. She had Ningrongrong pinned beneath her, clinging to her like an octopus, and was biting her indiscriminately. Yichu. Move her away. Ah, Xiaolan. Don't grab me. My clothes. Ningrongrong had several teeth marks on her face, and her clothes were disheveled. Yichu stepped forward with a cold face, grabbed the drunken Xiaolan by the back of her neck, and lifted her up. Chapter 71 Drunkenness. Smelling the familiar scent, Xiaolan clung to Yichu, wrapping her arms around his neck and crossing her legs. Resisting the urge to flick her forehead, Yichu silently activated his Blue-Silver Emperor's second soul skill, Blue-Silver Fragrance. He didn't know if this soul skill could cure a hangover, but he'd have to try. Brother hiccup kiss, how? Still kissing? Wait till you sober up and see how I deal with you. Looking at the drunken Xiaolan, Yichu, enduring the smell of alcohol, reluctantly put his arm around her waist. Ningrongrong frantically straightened her ripped blue undergarment, lowering her head, not daring to look at him, her already flushed face turning even redder. "Miss Ning. What's going on?" Her voice was filled with anger. They'd only just started dating and this was already happening. If they spent more time together, Yichu was worried Xiaolan would go astray. "What's going on?" "I'm in a bad mood, and Xiaolan offered to drink with me. Also, don't call me Miss Ning anymore." "I don't like that title." Faced with his questioning, Ning Rongrong's expression shifted from guilty to angry. Yichu's way of addressing her displeased her. She jumped off the bed, went to the table, and gulped down another mouthful of wine. Perhaps her soul skill was working, because Xiaolan in her arms stopped moving around erratically, and her breathing gradually became even. She was even smacking her lips in her sleep. Yichu put her on the bed, tidied her messy hair, and covered her with a blanket. He hadn't expected that Xiaolan, because she craved alcohol, would comfort Ning Rongrong by drinking with her. Her gluttonous nature was truly giving him a headache. He looked at Ning Rongrong, whose eyes were still a little red. He knew that she was in a bad mood today, and his voice softened considerably, but he still couldn't help but give her a warning. "Okay, Miss Rongrong, don't give Xiaolan any more alcohol. She's still a child." Ning Rongrong rested her chin on one hand, swirling the wine glass in her other, looking at him with displeasure, muttering under her breath. "It's not like I made her drink." Humph, staring at Yichu, as if remembering something, her previously hazy eyes lit up, and she changed her tone. "No problem. But I want you to drink with me." "How about it?" "Sorry, I don't drink." Yichu refused firmly. He really didn't drink. "Really? You, a man, can't even drink?" A smile suddenly appeared on her face. "Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you?" "That's great, huh?" Yichu looked at her strangely. He didn't drink, so why was she getting excited? Ahem. I mean, I just happened to be out of wine." Ning Rongrong avoided his gaze. She quickly took out a transparent jar from her soul tool, inside which a bright red liquid rippled. "So you'll just have some juice with me, okay?" "How about it, juice?" Yichu took the red can with a hint of skepticism, uncorked it, and sniffed it. There was indeed no smell of alcohol. Only a rich fruity aroma, with a touch of rose fragrance. It smelled wonderful. "What? You think I'd have ulterior motives?" "Dream on." Thump. She rolled her eyes at him, her slightly tipsy gaze fixed on him, and forcefully slammed a glass down opposite her. She stood up, grabbed Yichu's arm, and pulled him to the table. A strange smile played on her slightly flushed face from the alcohol. "All right then," Yichu said, suddenly pulling away from her hand and sitting down. Seeing this, Ning Rongrong also sat back down, took the can back from Yichu, and filled both their glasses. Holding the glass, Yichu was still a little uneasy. As he brought the glass to his lips, his eyes unconsciously drifted to her. Noticing his gaze, Ning Rongrong pouted, "HMPH. What a coward." She picked up her own glass and downed it in one gulp. After finishing, she turned the glass upside down and looked at Yichu with a smile. Seeing that she had no reaction and her expression didn't change at all, Yichu took a small sip. The taste was good, sweet and fragrant, and he couldn't help but wonder. "What kind of juice is this? It's so delicious. If it's good, drink more. Why are you being so stingy with juice? Hey, you drink it." Glug. Taking advantage of his momentary inattention, Ning Rongrong got up, pressed his hand down, and forced him to drink a big mouthful. The juice went down his throat, and the aroma spread from his mouth all the way inside. The sweet taste made Yichu feel like he was in a sea of flowers. A surge of heat rushed to his brain. When Ning Rongrong let go of him, his head was a little dizzy. He couldn't help but shake his head, his vision was a little blurry, and Ning Rongrong in front of him appeared as a double image. "Why can't you stand up straight?" PFFT. Ning Rongrong covered her mouth and chuckled. "You really are a newbie. This can of red juice is actually a kind of fruit wine, made from various fruits and roses, brewed and concentrated. Because the alcohol aroma is masked by the fruit and floral fragrance, it smells no different from fruit juice. In addition, this wine is actually quite strong. You don't feel it in your mouth, but once it gets into your stomach, it makes you feel like you're in a sea of flowers. Let alone a newbie like Yichu, even some veterans can't handle it." Yichu also forgot about Ning Rongrong's alcohol tolerance and overestimated his own ability. Seeing her drink a lot, he had a fluke mentality, but he didn't expect that he was actually a lightweight. He was cautious, but he had no tolerance at all. Ning Rongrong put her hands on the table, cupped her chin with both hands, smiled brightly, and her eyes curved into crescents. Yichu, what's wrong? I'm a little dizzy. Yichu felt his body was a little weak, and he straightened up a bit by leaning his arms on the table. Ningrongrong walked over to Yichu, sat down next to him, leaned on the table, propped her head up with one hand, looked at his flush profile, and spoke softly. Yichu, do you hate me? A little. Yichu's words were a little unclear. Is that so? Are you still holding a grudge about what happened at the last auction? Ningrongrong's eyes turned dangerous as she asked again. Yichu tilted his head, looked at her, and held out his hand, pinching his index finger and thumb together. A little. Oh, I see. Ningrongrong looked enlightened. You really are a stingy person. Saying that, she poured another glass into his cup. She put the glass to his lips and made him take a big gulp. Yichu, who was already drunk, was even more unwell. If Ningrongrong hadn't been holding him up, he would have collapsed onto the table. His fair face and neck were flushed red. It seemed as if Xiao Wu's figure appeared before his eyes, smiling at him, and then suddenly it became Zhu Zhuking, with spider spears extending from her back, her face cold. She held Yichu, preventing him from falling. Looking at him, she was amazed by his appearance at the first auction. She recalled the scene in Sunset Forest where Yichu had descended from the sky to save her, and the pleasant scent she had smelled in his arms. Her pink cheeks flushed even more, and she leaned forward to sniff Yichu's neck twice. He still smells so good, Yichu. I have one last question for you. Ningrongrong turned his head so that he was facing her. Chapter 72 First Kiss. Their deep blue eyes met. Yichu's eyes were already drooping, his eyelids heavy, yet his previously blurry figure became increasingly clear. Ningrongrong hesitated for a moment, pursed her lips, her earlobes slowly turning red, and spoke softly. Do you think I'm pretty? The words had barely left her lips when she felt her face burning. How could she have asked such a question? Ah, she suddenly exclaimed. Yichu had embraced her. Very pretty, Yichu whispered dreamily in her ear. Ningrongrong felt her heart pounding, a surge of joy rising within her. She pressed her burning face against his chest. Inhaling the scent emanating from Yichu, perhaps it was the alcohol, or perhaps she had already harbored these thoughts. Looking up at the somewhat unconscious Yichu, her lips slightly parted, she leaned forward. His warm breath brushed against her face, burning her cheeks. Her blue eyes, stirred by the scalding heat, rippled with a thin mist, shimmering and translucent. Their lips lightly touched. Ningrongrong shuddered, the electric sensation sent a shiver down her spine, leaving her both numb and intoxicated. Xiao Wu, however, Yichu's murmur was like a bucket of cold water poured over her. Like being suddenly struck by sleet from a warm rainforest, her body stiffened, her mind cleared, the mist in her eyes vanished, and the shimmering light disappeared. Her allure turned to anger, and she immediately pulled away from Yichu's embrace, filled with shame and indignation. This guy actually mistook me for someone else. Ningrongrong angrily grabbed his collar. What had she just done? Say it. Who is Xiao Wu? After shaking him vigorously a few times, seeing that he remained silent, she realized he had actually passed out. Yichu, you bastard! Ningrongrong glared at him fiercely, her eyes practically spitting fire. Thump. Thump. Bang Bang punched him twice, furious. That was my first kiss. Just as she was about to take her next step, preparing to wake him up and ask him what was going on, a clear, slightly dazed voice came. Sister Rongrong, what are you doing? Ah. Xiao Lan, like a thief, Ningrongrong suddenly panicked, looking around, only to find that Xiao Lan on the bed had woken up. She was rubbing her head, looking at her curiously. Oh, nothing, nothing. She quickly let go of Yichu and took a few steps back. Yichu was slumped on the table like a rag doll. Xiao Lan was still a little dazed, walking unsteadily. She stumbled over to Yichu, nudged him, but there was no reaction, and she looked at Ningrongrong strangely. Sister Rongrong, what happened to brother? Oh, he's fine, he got drunk with me. Ningrongrong's eyes darted away. Oh, I see. Brother's so mean. He drank it all himself, and then told Xiao Lan she couldn't drink anymore. Ningrongrong gently patted Yichu's head, as if she were the older one. Ningrongrong chuckled awkwardly, her expression slightly guilty. She leaned closer to Xiao Lan and tentatively asked, Xiao Lan, did you see anything just now, huh? Xiao Lan rolled her eyes, thought for a moment, and then nodded. Yes, what? You saw it? Ningrongrong's voice suddenly rose, her face turning a ghastly red, as if she'd been startled. Yes. I just woke up and saw you hitting brother. Phew. Hearing Xiao Lan's words, Ning Rongrong breathed a sigh of relief, patting her still developing breasts. That's good, that's good. Did something else happen just now? Of course not. We only drank a little. Yeah, that's all. Ning Rongrong put her hands on her hips, leaned closer to Xiao Lan, and looked at her seriously. Xiao Lan, still half asleep, didn't think much of it and nodded groggily. Xiao Lan, do you know who Xiao Wu is that Yichu mentioned? Ning Rongrong's expression was somewhat unnatural, and she was very curious about the Xiao Wu that Yichu mentioned. Ah. Sister Rongrong knows too? But I've never met that sister before. I've only met Sister Zhu Qing. Sister Zhu Qing? There's another one. Ning Rongrong's eyes widened, and she glared at Yichu with hatred, gritting her teeth. That bastard, my first kiss was just given away like that. Sister Rongrong, are you alright? I'm fine. HMPH. Tui. She gave Yichu a cold look, spat lightly, wiped her lips with her hand, and left indignantly. Xiao Lan stood there blankly, somewhat confused. Why did he just leave like that? He didn't even bother to help Xiao Lan carry her brother. HMPH. She made a face in the direction she left, looking at Yichu, who was lying unconscious on the table. Brother is such a worry. Haha. Mimicking Yichu's tone, he patted his shoulder with an air of nonchalance and couldn't help but laugh. It took a lot of effort to move Yichu to the bed. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, he suddenly felt thirsty. His eyes darted around, and his gaze fell on a bright red jar on the table. Thinking of the fine wine he'd drunk earlier, his mouth watered, and he swallowed hard, smacking his lips. Glancing at the slumped Yichu, he finally relaxed, trotting over to grab it and sniff it. It smells so good. Glug glug ah burp. He downed it in one gulp. So delicious. A wave of heat rose to his head, and his limbs felt weak. Clatter. The bottle fell to the ground, and Xiao Lan's face instantly ignited with a fire, spreading from his head to his ears and neck. How strange. Why is the house spinning? He started walking, wandering around, completely disoriented. Sniffing, he finally managed to identify Yichu's scent amidst the aroma of wine before finally settling onto the bed. Ugh! He let out a long hiccup, his eyes snapping shut as he collapsed onto Yichu, falling asleep instantly. The room was peaceful, the floor a mess, the moon slowly disappeared, the sun gradually rose, the setting sun illuminated the twilight, and dawn greeted the new day. Xiao Lan had already woken up, but Yichu was still fast asleep. Morning. Xiao Lan was teasing the sleeping Yichu with her hair, a gentle smile on her face. Yichu's eyelashes fluttered, and his azure eyes slowly opened. Ah. Brother, you're finally awake. Ugh, cough cough. Having just woken up with something heavy pressing down on him, Yichu had trouble breathing and coughed. Brother, are you alright? Get off me, let me catch my breath. Okay. Xiao Lan obediently moved away and fiddled with something at the table. He sat up, rubbing his heavy head. His throat was dry, and his memory seemed to be a bit hazy. He only vaguely remembered that Ning Rongrong had forced a mouthful of juice down his throat, and then he became somewhat delirious. What happened next? He slapped his cheeks, a resentful expression on his face. That Ning Rongrong tricked me. Brother, have some water. Xiao Lan covered her mouth and giggled, holding a glass of water to Yichu's lips. He took the glass and downed it in one gulp, feeling even more annoyed at Xiao Lan's grinning face. You're still laughing. You're not allowed to drink anymore. HMPH. Fine, you're not allowed. Why are you being so fierce? Xiao Lan pouted, glancing at Yichu sideways, and said disdainfully, my alcohol tolerance is much higher than yours. Yichu is speechless with anger. He was a little embarrassed after just one glass. He was really too weak, and even his momentum had weakened. Ahem, so how long have I been asleep? Looking at the light outside, he figured it had been about a night. What? You're saying I slept for a day and 2 nights? Hearing Xiao Lan's answer, Yichu's face twitched. What kind of rubbish juice did that little devil Ning Rongrong give him to drink that could make someone sleep for a day and 2 nights? It was clearly alcohol, and not just any alcohol, but strong liquor. Otherwise, even with his low alcohol tolerance, he wouldn't be like this. Xiao Lan gently patted Yichu's head. Oh yeah. Brother slept like a pig for ages. Slap. He slapped her hands away, rolled his eyes, and realized she was getting increasingly unruly and disrespectful. Chapter 73. Crown Prince Zhu King. In the courtyard, Yichu, having washed up, sat in the pavilion within the flower bed, eating the breakfast brought by the waiter. Xiaolan wandered among the flowers, picking blossoms and making herself a flower crown. She placed the crown on her head, happily twirling around, her long blue and gold embroidered dress fluttering in the wind. Truly, she was a captivating sight, her smile enchanting and her eyes sparkling. Brother, isn't Xiaolan pretty? Haha. Watching Xiaolan dance like a butterfly, hearing her question, Yichu seemed to recall some fragmented images, but he couldn't remember them. He opened his mouth to answer when a figure in blue rushed into the courtyard. Xiaolan. Come on, I'll take you. Ah. You're awake. Sister Rongrong. Ning Rongrong looked at Yichu sitting in the pavilion, her words punctuated by a startled cry. Her face flushed red, she panicked, wanting to escape. Thanks to you, I've had enough sleep after a day and 2 nights. Yichu looked at her and sneered. Bang. Yichu slammed his hand on the table and stood up, glaring at her. Why did you lie to me? What lie? I clearly took the wrong one. Is that not allowed? Ning Rongrong suppressed her embarrassment, her neck stiff, hands on her hips, not giving an inch. Took the wrong one? Then what do you say when you force me to drink it? Seeing Yichu still daring to point at her and say that, she was also annoyed. It was clearly her fault. Why should Ning Rongrong put up with this? She stopped pretending and laid her cards on the table. What's there to say? What's there to say? I'm the one who lost out, you bastard. Scumbag. She stepped forward, slapped Yichu's hand away, and started cursing him directly. Yichu was so angry he laughed. What had he done to her? Brother, sister Rongrong, none of your business. X2. The two voices were surprisingly in sync. Xiaolan responded with a wrong tone, then ran away again, her eyes filled with innocence. Ignoring Xiaolan, Yichu was determined to see how she would argue. Miss Rongrong. You say you've lost out? And I'm a scumbag? What kind of logic is that? You don't know. Ning Rongrong looked at him in surprise. Should I know? Yichu looked at her doubtfully, then nodded. I should indeed know. How could you not know? Ning Rongrong breathed a sigh of relief, but was also somewhat angry. No. Not somewhat, but extremely angry. How could I know? Yichu was completely baffled by what she was saying. How could this bastard not know? Is my first kiss going to be lost forever? Ning Rongrong glared at Yichu, growing angrier with each passing thought. You'd better let me know already, Yichu urged. Smack. Enough. Ning Rongrong slammed her hand on the table. You son of a bitch. I was in a bad mood, so what if I lied to you about drinking with me? Drinking with me is your honor. What's wrong with lying to you? What's wrong with that? You think you're losing out? Yichu was about to speak when she cut him off. She walked up to Yichu, poked his chest, and kept yelling, forcing Yichu to back away. You bastard. You slept for so long after just one drink, while Xiaolan drank a whole bottle and was perfectly fine, and you still have the nerve to say that. You're a grown man, and you can even black out, you piece of trash. You scum. Tell me, aren't you a scumbag? Bastard, scumbag, bastard. Ning Rongrong yelled the last 2 words again. Her pretty face flushed red with anger, and her voice became shrill. Xiaolan covered her ears a little further away. Sister Rongrong is so scary. Yichu froze on the spot, stunned by Ning Rongrong's strong reaction, his ears ringing. HMPH. This is infuriating. Little Blue. Let's go. I'll take you shopping and eating delicious food in Xiandao City today. Ignoring Yichu, Yichu called to Little Blue and headed outside. Coming. Little Blue ran out from the flower bushes. Of all the things in the world, food is the most important. Did I offend her? Yichu looked at Little Blue, sinking into deep self-doubt. Little Blue doesn't know either. Brother, I'm going to play now. Here's a flower wreath for you. Little Blue jumped up and put the flower wreath on Yichu's head before running outside. Sister Rongrong. Wait for Little Blue. Yichu only snapped out of his daze when she reached the courtyard gate. Little Blue. No more drinking. Okay brother, ignore that bastard. Ning Rongrong's voice came from outside. Yichu silently sat down, carefully recalling what he had done to offend her. Should he be the victim? Sitting quietly in the pavilion, Yichu recalled the memories of the night before last, piecing together the fragments. She took a big gulp of wine, and then. I saw Xiao Wu? No, it seems like Zhu Qing, no. She made me drink 2 gulps of wine, oh dear. Yichu scratched his head. Right. I think I said I hated her. Could it be because of this? Just as Yichu was carefully piecing together his memories, A waiter entered, interrupting his thoughts. Young Master Yichu. The sect master requests your presence in the council hall. I understand, I'll go right away. Temporarily setting aside those distracting thoughts, Yichu straightened his clothes, removed the flower wreath Xiao Lan had put on him, and followed the waiter to the hall. Yichu guessed that the matter he had asked Ningfengzi to help with must have been resolved. Following the directions, the journey didn't take too long, and Yichu quickly arrived at the entrance of the hall. At this moment, there were only 2 people in the council hall of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect. One of them was naturally Ningfengzi, the sect master of the 7 treasure glazed tile school, with sword Douluo standing behind him. Yichu, you've finally arrived, Ningfengzi called out to Yichu before he even entered. Sect Master Ning, Yichu bowed to him as soon as he entered the hall. No need for formalities, please sit down. Ningfengzi gestured for him to sit. Boy, your cultivation has broken through again. Sensing Yichu's aura, Sword Douluo's voice suddenly rang out. Just a lucky breakthrough, HMPH. Strength is strength, why be modest? In his view, strength is strength, no need for pretense. Yichu chuckled dryly and obediently sat down to the side. Haha, you really are a genius. It seems that introducing you to the Crown Prince is indeed very necessary. Hearing that Yichu had broken through again, Ningfengzi was only slightly surprised, and then pointed out the purpose of calling him over. The Crown Prince. Just as Yichu finished speaking, footsteps sounded outside the hall. Tap tap. What a coincidence, Ningfengzi exclaimed. Yichu's expression was somewhat strange. He hadn't expected Ningfengzi to arrange for him to meet Zhu King. He knew very well that the real Zhu King had long since perished in the northwest, and the current Zhu King was a disguise by Jin Ringsu. Following Ningfengzi's gaze, he looked towards the door, also curious about what Jin Ringsu's Zhu King looked like that even her own father couldn't recognize her. Tap tap. As the footsteps approached, Yichu suddenly sensed something different. His eyes felt hot, and the 3 tomo in his eyes flickered. What's going on? This feeling is somewhat familiar. Suppressing the fluctuations in his body, he felt a little strange. He had felt this way when he first came to Xiandao City. Outside, a young man was approaching the hall. He looked to be about 27 or 28 years old, with golden hair. Although not exceptionally handsome, he possessed bright eyes and white teeth, and wore a neat golden robe that exuded nobility and gentleness. He also wore black gloves. At this moment, his humble expression stiffened, a surge of emotion rising within him, his soul power beginning to boil and intensify. How could this be? This feeling, it's back. Who is it? Could it be related to the person the teacher introduced? Adjusting his breathing, suppressing the fluctuations of his soul power, he slowly walked into the hall. As if drawn by some inexplicable force. As soon as he entered the hall, his gaze was drawn to a handsome young man dressed in a blue outfit. Yichu also sensed something and looked in his direction. The 2 unconsciously locked eyes, an unprecedented feeling of wanting to be close washed over them. Buzz! Not good, Zhu King exclaimed inwardly, a look of shock flashing in his eyes. He felt his heart suddenly race, his hands clenching into fists. He desperately tried to control his martial soul, which was about to burst forth. He quickly averted his gaze. Yichu also gripped the armrests of his chair tightly, pulling his eyes away, his breathing becoming erratic. What on earth is going on? X2. Chapter 74 Martial Soul Resonance. This palpitation lasted only a moment before being suppressed by the 2. They exchanged a fleeting glance, then quickly looked away, a hint of doubt in their eyes. The sword Douluo beside them had sharp eyes. He had clearly sensed something amiss just now, but now he couldn't pinpoint what it was. He frowned, looking at the 2 strangely. Teacher, Zhu King had already composed himself and respectfully bowed to Ningfengzi. King, you've finally arrived. Ningfengzi, completely oblivious to the earlier unease, stood up and helped him up. You've come at the right time. Yichu just arrived as well. Following his gaze, Zhu King looked towards Yichu, his eyes calm and clear, as if nothing had happened. Yichu had already stood up with Ningfengzi. I am Yichu, greetings to your highness the Crown Prince. The prodigy my teacher spoke of is indeed well deserved. His appearance alone could easily outshine countless young talents. Your highness flatters me. Yichu was basically immune to these sugar-coated bullets, and besides, the other party was just stating the facts. Yichu was quite satisfied with his appearance. Cough cough. Let me formally introduce myself, Zhu King, Crown Prince of the Heaven Dao Empire. Zhu King put away his smile and extended his right hand to Yichu. Yichu, a commoner, Yichu also extended his right hand and shook hands with him. HMPH, both of their bodies trembled simultaneously, letting out a muffled groan as the other's soul power surged towards them. After exchanging a glance, they quickly released each other's hands. Looking at Zhu King's appearance, Yichu felt somewhat strange. Was this all Jinring Su's disguise ability was? At this moment, Zhu King's face was slightly flushed. He quickly adjusted himself, cursing inwardly. What he felt was different from Yichu's. Besides the change in soul power, his arm was numb from the electric shock. King, what's wrong? This time, Ning Fengzi noticed something amiss. The two people in front of him seemed a bit off, and he looked at them with suspicion. The sword Douluo beside him was the same. Oh, nothing, teacher. I just suddenly remembered that I seem to have seen Brother Yichu somewhere before, and I was just a little excited. Zhu King's expression instantly returned to normal, and he even had the leisure to call Yichu his brother. Oh, Ning Fengzi looked at Yichu again. Indeed, more than 2 months ago when I first came to the Heaven Dao Imperial City, I saw His Highness the Crown Prince from afar. Haha, that blue-haired figure holding a little girl was indeed Brother Yichu. It seems I didn't remember wrong. Hearing the other's explanation, Yichu and Zhu King understood. Sure enough, the strange thing about their martial souls last time was because of the other party. It wasn't a hallucination. I see. It seems you two are quite destined. Ning Fengzi also nodded. He had never told Zhu King that Yichu had a younger sister, and from this alone, he knew that the two of them were not lying. Alright, everyone, let's sit down and talk. Thank you, teacher. Thank you, sect leader Ning. We're all on the same side, no need to be so polite. It's safe to say that this sect leader is indeed worthy of being called one of their own. He's already trying to win Yichu over. Yichu doesn't mind much, it's fine this way. Rather than leaving it to Tang San, it's better to use it as an asset. In the future, if Tang San continues to use the sale of hidden weapons to win over the 7 treasure glazed tile school, he'll buy a set first. He'll draw up the blueprints and present them directly to Ning Fengzi. He figured Ning wouldn't be able to refuse. King, how's the matter I asked you to handle last time? Don't worry, teacher, Brother Yichu's enrollment has been arranged, and he can report at any time. Then I thank sect leader Ning and His Highness the Crown Prince in advance. The three chatted idly. Jinring Su, disguised as Zhu King, was very talkative, giving off a composed and magnanimous air. Although Yichu could sense that this person was very shrewd, he gave off a comfortable feeling, lacking the arrogance of a nobleman and instead appearing approachable. At least in this respect, he had learned well from Ning Fengzi. The three chatted for a long time, during which Ning Fengzi suddenly probed Yichu. Ning Fengzi even wanted Zhu King to stay for lunch, but he was busy with official duties and couldn't stay. Yichu and Ning Fengzi saw him to the door. Brother Yichu, I had a very pleasant chat with you today. In a few days, when you come to the Heavenly Dao Royal Academy, we should find an opportunity to have a good exchange. Zhu King looked at Yichu with a sincere expression, though it was hard to tell how genuine it was. Don't worry, there will be an opportunity, Yichu nodded. This time, his interaction with Zhu King had caused their martial souls to resonate so strongly, even affecting them. Therefore, subconsciously, he wasn't resistant to contacting Zhu King, or rather, Jinring Su. Teacher. Then this student will return to the East Palace. I'll come to inquire again when I have time. Go ahead, be careful on the road. Ning Fengzi nodded, quite satisfied with his disciple. This was also the link between the 7 treasure glazed tile school and the royal family. On the way out, Zhu King sat in the carriage, staring blankly at his right hand, which was still a little numb, his mind filled with thoughts. What exactly is that guy's martial soul? Why does it resonate so intensely with my 6-winged angel, even causing my body to react? Of course, he knew what martial soul resonance meant. It was the prerequisite for the martial soul fusion skill that most soul masters longed to possess. However, the records of the Martial Soul Hall never recorded any martial soul that could perform a martial soul fusion skill with their Jin family's martial soul, simply because they were unworthy. Because the 6-winged angel martial soul was a divinely bestowed martial soul. Zhu King frowned and called out to the outside. Serpent Spear, young master, a voice rang out from outside the carriage. Hurry up, I have urgent business to write back home. Understood. Yichu might now be the first person in history capable of performing a soul fusion technique with a 6-winged angel soul. He needs to write a letter back to inquire and let his grandfather decide. This soul, so perfectly compatible with the six-winged angel, if passed down and bound to the Jin family, would bring immeasurable benefits. Meanwhile, Yichu declined Ning Fengzi's invitation to lunch. He had already returned to his residence. Little Blue? Still not back, he called out, but Little Blue hadn't returned. Looking at the empty courtyard, Yichu sat back down in the pavilion. He rested his chin on his hand, pondering the impulse his soul had felt when he encountered Zhu King that morning. Was it because the two souls were so compatible? A soul fusion technique, although he hadn't seen one, he knew very well the power of soul fusion techniques. A soul fusion technique wasn't simply 1 + 1 = 2, it could generate combat power that transcended levels. Not to mention the Ghost Douluo and Chrysanthemum Douluo's polar stillness domain. Just from the battles between the Golden Iron Triangle and Poison Douluo Douluo, and the battles between the Peerless Dragon and Snake Couple and Chrysanthemum Douluo, one can see how terrifyingly powerful a soul fusion skill can be in enhancing a soul master's combat strength. I remember that to use a fusion skill, one seems to need to surrender their body, mind, and soul to the other. If that's the case, wouldn't that be incredibly valuable? Yichu stroked his chin, suddenly realizing that the vast ocean universe cover wasn't entirely out of the question. Although the sea god's position might not be suitable for him, having this thing in hand would always be useful. Right? On the other hand, she already has a divine inheritance, so she shouldn't lack such a fusion skill, right? Moreover, practicing a soul fusion skill means she has to reveal her identity to me. Sigh. Thinking about all this, Yichu couldn't help but sigh. He decided against daydreaming. Compared to seducing Jinring Su, he felt it was more reliable to win the Soul Master competition or steal it later when he had the strength. More importantly, he was also afraid he wouldn't be able to resist her beauty. Just as Yichu was lost in thought, a sudden pain shot through his chest. Hiss, clutching his chest, he received a memory from Xiaolan. Thump. Yichu jerked to his feet. Damn it. Ningrongrong is still there. Chapter 75. Is Little Blue dead? Just as Ning Fengzi and his companions finished their conversation, in Xiandao City's commercial street, the once bustling street was now nearly deserted due to the afternoon sun. Xiaolan, carrying several bouquets of roses, moved like a lively little elf, constantly flitting between shops. Behind her, Ningrongrong, who had accompanied her for most of the day, was exhausted. Xiaolan. Don't walk so fast. I can't keep up. Ningrongrong regretted bringing her out. Eating so much and walking so fast, wouldn't she get tired? They'd already explored 3 of the 4 streets. This was more tiring than her usual training. She was about to collapse. But Rongrong-ji, there are so many delicious things ahead that Xiaolan hasn't tried yet. Xiaolan, walking ahead, turned around and skipped to her, full of energy. You still want to eat? How much can your stomach hold? I can't walk anymore. Ningrongrong bent over, hands on her knees, sweat pouring down her face, her brown hair clinging to her cheeks, and she was panting. Then, Sister Rongrong, give Xiaolan some gold soul coins. She held out her small hand, palm open. Xiaolan, go wander around for a while, and bring Sister some treats later, okay, but don't go too far. Ningrongrong gave her a handful of gold soul coins. Pop? Thank you, Sister Rongrong. Haha, Sister's blushing. I'm just tired. Sister, please hold these flowers for me. Xiaolan wants to give them to brother when we get back. Watching Xiaolan's retreating figure, Ningrongrong sat down on the steps of a nearby shop, touched her lips, and thought of Yichu, that bastard who stole her first kiss. Xiaolan was much better than him. On the street, Xiaolan had only been gone a short while. Not far from Ningrongrong, a disheveled man with messy hair and dirty clothes stumbled along the road, muttering something under his breath. I'm sorry to you. Ningrongrong frowned. She could smell a foul odor from a distance and covered her nose in disgust. She only lowered her hand when he had walked a little further away. And the direction he was heading was the same direction Xiaolan had just left. La la la. Xiaolan held several strings of shiny candied hawthorns in her 2 small hands. These were her favorite foods, sweet and sour. Humming a nice tune, she skipped and hopped towards Ningrongrong. Ayin, suddenly, a surprised, hoarse voice rang out. The disheveled man who had been passing by suddenly rushed straight to Xiaolan. Sister, a figure appeared in front of her. Xiaolan initially thought it was Ningrongrong, but when she saw who it was, she screamed in terror. Ayin, my Ayin. The disheveled man stared intently at her, his voice trembling, his heart pounding with excitement. He recognized her, she was his Ayin. This man was Tang Hao. Ever since Ayin disappeared from the cave, he had been searching everywhere for clues. Trying to find the murderer, or at least find Ayin. He had barely paid attention to Tang San's situation. Heaven rewards the diligent, he had finally found her. To his disbelief, Ayin was no longer a blade of grass, but a person, a living, breathing person, without a trace of soul beast aura. His cloudy eyes scanned her up and down, his body trembling with excitement. Blue hair, blue eyes, and an appearance identical to Ayin's. The natural, elegant aura emanating from her felt familiar and comforting. Despite the unbelievable nature of it all, Tang Hao firmly believed that the girl before him was his Ayin, his wife, the Blue-Silver Emperor Ayin. In his state of heightened excitement, he even began to wonder if Ayin had grown legs and run away on her own. Ayin. My Ayin, I finally found you. He reached out, trying to grab Xiaolan's shoulders. Ah! Get away! You stink! I don't recognize you, Xiaolan yelled, taking several steps back. Don't recognize me? Tang Hao was completely dumbfounded. How could you not recognize me? Look at me properly. He tossed his messy hair aside and kept getting closer to Xiaolan. Get away from me. I don't know you. Impossible. Absolutely impossible, Ayin. I'm Tang Hao. Look at me properly. Tang Hao kept pulling at his hair and rubbing his mud-covered face. He's Tang Hao, Xiaolan panicked. A titled Douluo. She finally recognized him. This was the guy who had planted her in the dark cave, the one who abused the grass. The Tang Hao her brother had spoken of as a path to death. Get out of my way. You've mistaken me for someone else. A few candied hawthorns were thrown hard at his face. Tang Hao was deeply shaken. Trembling, he staggered back a few steps, crying out in anguish, Ayin, you really don't remember me, don't you remember our meeting? Don't you remember our wedding? Don't you remember our child? Xiaolan shook her head firmly. Those were Ayin's experiences, she had no interest in those experiences unrelated to her brother. Ayin was dead. She was a completely new individual, a sister who could never leave her brother, a blade of grass belonging only to him. HMPH. Get out of my way. With that, Xiaolan was about to leave. She needed to tell her brother quickly that Tang Hao had come to Yongdao City. No. You can't leave. Ah. Get out of my way. Whoosh. Seeing that Tang Hao actually wanted to grab her, Xiaolan quickly summoned her martial soul, the Blue-Silver Emperor, which appeared and tightly bound him. Ha, Blue-Silver Emperor. You really are my Ayin. Seeing her martial soul, Tang Hao was certain once again that she was Ayin. Tang Hao neither dodged nor flinched, letting the Blue-Silver Emperor vines entwine him, even displaying an expression of ecstasy as he savored the long-lost aura. You pervert. Little Blue was truly angry, utterly disgusted by this repulsive creature. One after another, Blue-Silver Emperor vines lashed out at him, striking him relentlessly. Ha, don't worry, Silver, I will definitely restore your memories. The more he was struck, the more excited Tang Hao became, the bloodstains on his face making his smile somewhat eerie. Disgusting, Little Blue felt nauseous and decided to leave, avoiding further entanglement. No. Silver, don't leave me. Let me go. Tang Hao instantly broke free from the Blue-Silver Emperor's grasp, grabbing Little Blue's shoulder. Suddenly, as if seeing something, Little Blue pointed directly behind Tang Hao, shouting, Don't come any closer. Don't come any closer. Please don't come any closer. It turned out that Ning Rongrong, having waited a long time for Little Blue's return, had come looking for him. Little Blue, in the distance, Ning Rongrong froze, looking at her in confusion. She paused, then walked towards her. Don't come any closer, Little Blue cried out, knowing she couldn't delay any longer. If this disgusting thing found out about her relationship with Sister Rongrong, her brother would definitely be exposed. Tang Hao, however, misunderstood, thinking Little Blue was pointing at him, and looked at her with deep affection. Ayin. Come with me, let's go find the mistress. I'll restore your memories. AWW. She picked up the candied hawthorn in her hand and devoured it in one bite. Get away, she shouted at Ning Rongrong one last time. I'd rather die than let you succeed. Then, gritting her teeth, she picked up the bamboo skewer in her hand and pressed it against her neck. Sizzle, it pierced through her neck, and Little Blue's head lolled to the side, glaring hatefully at Tang Hao. Bang! She exploded in a burst of green light. Thud, the roses Little Blue had entrusted to Ning Rongrong scattered on the ground. His blue eyes trembled as he stared in disbelief at the scene before him. Little Blue is gone. Suddenly, his whole body trembled, as if he had recalled something terrifying. Little Blue was dead. Tang Hao also froze, looking at his hands, feeling the lingering warmth within them. His eyes widened, turning bloodshot. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.